I travel from one world to another doing wholesale sales, and you call this the end of the world? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 Wake Up. Su-wei. Just then, Shuang's voice came from upstairs. Wait for me. Su-wei rushed upstairs at the fastest speed. Shuang. Su-wei rushed into the room like an arrow. He thought there was someone who had slipped through the net, so he immediately got ready. But in fact, it was his honking who woke up. Shuang was shocked and ecstatic, and petrified to the side. Shuang? Su-wei, why are you here? What am I doing? He's honking, who struggled to sit up from the bed, was confused. He first looked at Shuang and Su-wei and asked, and then stared at the ventilator and ECG monitor connected to his body. Obviously, he didn't know what happened in the past few days. There was a gap in his memory. Uncle, how do you feel now? Are you still feeling uncomfortable? Su-wei asked quickly. I feel fine. Why are you all here? He's honking shook his head and asked back. Dad, we heard you were sick, so we came back to see you. Shuang wanted to tell he's honking the truth, but she was afraid of irritating him, so she just said it casually. I'm sick? I don't remember. He's honking was even more confused. His last memory was drinking a bowl of soup brought by Liu Yakin. Could it be that soup? A strange look flashed in his honking's eyes. Shuang. Since uncle is awake, I'll leave first, Su-wei said and winked at Shuang. Well, Shuang agreed hesitantly. She also wanted to go, but she was worried that her father would not be able to accept it after knowing it. Since you are here, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Stay for dinner, Sister Jin. Just when Su-wei wanted to leave, his honking tried to stop him. As he said that, he tore off the things on his body and wanted to get out of bed. Although he had some criticisms about Su-wei's emotional life, he had no choice. His daughter liked it, so he couldn't say much. Dad, Jin Sao is not here. Shuang hurried over to help. Oh, what about Yakin? His honking asked. She is not here either. When the woman was mentioned, Shuang's face suddenly became ugly. Shuang, did something happen? His honking's brows suddenly frowned. He didn't know his own daughter yet, and his emotions were written on his face. Dad, it's okay. You take a rest. What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Shuang hurriedly interrupted. No, Su-wei, don't leave. You must be hiding something from me. Tell me, what happened? His honking usually looks elegant, but when he encounters something, he also has a fierce aura. After all, he was once the young master of the He family. Dad, Shuang looked at the time getting later, and couldn't help but feel anxious. His honking was unmoved, with a momentum of controlling the situation. Alice. Shuang, tell uncle. It's only a matter of time, Su-wei sighed and said to Shuang. The truth cannot be hidden, and his honking will have to face it sooner or later. Dad, Grandpa is in the hospital. It's a cerebral hemorrhage. Shuang had to speak up after hearing this. How could it be? His honking was stunned. His father's health has always been good. Why did he suddenly get this disease? And it happened after he fell ill. Is there any connection between them? Dad, let Su-wei go to the hospital to see Grandpa first. I'll tell you the details later. Shuang said hurriedly. No, let's go to the hospital together. Tell me on the way, his honking said without question. Okay, Shuang had no choice but to agree. No one knows a father better than his daughter. She has been exposed to her father's inner stubbornness since she was a child. As they talked, the three of them came downstairs together. Su-wei called Zhang Liu to drive his honking's car and take the three of them to the first hospital of Mo City. As for Ji-han, Su-wei asked him to take the female nurse in the room and the three people in the opposite building away and hide them in a secluded place. Before leaving, Su-wei also gave Ji-han a truth serum, and asked the big gold in charge of monitoring to confess honestly and record the video as evidence. In this way, two cars left this high-end community in Magic City one after another, but no one noticed. It was not until more than an hour after they left that the community's monitoring system returned to normal, but with the advanced artificial intelligence, it would naturally not leave any traces. On the way to the first hospital of Magic City, Shuang told his honking everything. To prove it, Su Wei also showed him the video of the female nurse's confession. After watching it, He's Honking's face became extremely livid, but he didn't say a word. He Shuang wanted to comfort him, but Su Wei stopped him with his eyes. Men, when encountering such things, what they need is not comfort, but silence. I want to be quiet. There are cars everywhere in the evening rush hour in Magic City. When we arrived at the first hospital, it was already more than 7 o'clock in the evening. After the three got off the car, they went straight to the inpatient department. After asking around, they found He Donglei's ward. In the VIP ward, only Wu Changkong, the driver and bodyguard, was there. The chairman of Donglei International, one of the largest companies in Shanghai, was bedridden, but he didn't even have a flower or a fruit basket, proving that no one had come to visit him in the past 2 days. But thinking about it made me feel relieved. In this situation, those who want to come don't dare to come. Those who don't want to come don't have to come. Mr. He. Mr. Su, seeing the three people, Wu Changkong hurriedly greeted them and let them into the ward. In the deserted ward, He Donglei lay alone on the bed, his face pale and haggard, like a candle in the wind, which could go out at any time. It was heartbreaking to see him. He's Honking walked to the bed with a guilty look on his face, looking at his father who was once full of vigor and vitality, but ended up in this situation today, and felt a lot of emotion in his heart. Changkong, how is the old man? He's Honking finally spoke. Mr. The doctor said that the old man was angry and suffered from acute cerebral hemorrhage. Although the condition has been stabilized after rescue, the situation is not optimistic, plus due to his age, surgery is unlikely, Wu Changkong said helplessly. After hearing this, He's Honking fell into silence again. He Shuang's tears could no longer stop flowing down. If Su Wei hadn't held her hands tightly, she would have cried out loud. Don't worry, I have a way. Su Wei quickly patted He Shuang's little hands to comfort her. He Shuang stopped crying immediately after hearing this, and the light of hope ignited in her red eyes. He cured his father, so there must be no problem with his grandfather. He Shuang had a mysterious confidence in her heart. After hearing Su Wei's words, He's Honking and Wu Changkong looked at Su Wei with confusion. How could the conclusions drawn by the best hospital and the best expert team in the Magic City not hold true when it comes to Su Wei? If it weren't for He Shuang, the two would definitely think he was lying. Chapter 252 Voting. Su Wei smiled slightly, walked to the bed, and stretched out his hand to feel He Donglei's pulse. Although he had not learned it systematically, he could still feel something different with his enhanced super perception. At this moment, He Donglei's pulse was very weak, and it was obvious that he had reached the point of exhaustion. For modern medicine, there was nothing they could do. But for Su Wei, it was just a matter of a bottle of life potion. Uncle, Shuang, don't worry, Grandpa, he was just overworked, which caused the accumulated fatigue, and the anger caused the body to collapse. As long as he is well treated, there will be no problem, Su Wei said in a serious tone. He Shuang is fine, but He's Honking and Wu Changkong are suspicious. What a serious thing to say, just a light sentence of well treated, and it's over. Then this National Shianzi Hospital is just a decoration? Uncle, I have a conditioning potion with excellent efficacy. Do you want to try it? He's Honking was present, so Su Wei naturally asked for his opinion. He's Honking's understanding of Su Wei is limited to Zhuai Enterprise. Although Zhuai has frequently broken out recently, this has nothing to do with curing diseases. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Dad, let Su Wei try. He is the one who removed the poison in your body. If he says it is effective, it must be effective. Seeing that He's Honking was still hesitating, He Shuang on the side couldn't help but speak out. Okay, He's Honking finally nodded helplessly. This girl can't be kept when she grows up. Hearing this, Su Wei reached into his arms and took out a golden life potion from the space, which emitted a charming light under the light. On the other side, a board meeting was held overnight in a conference room on the top floor of Donglei International Building. It has been nearly 48 hours since He Donglei fell. This time, not only He's Honking was unconscious, but even He Shuang could not be contacted. All of Donglei International felt blind all of a sudden. Many important things could not be solved. In addition, the hospital had already issued a critical illness notice. Therefore, re-election of the chairman is imperative. According to company regulations, if the chairman of the board of directors has an accident, the board of directors will send a re-election notice to all shareholders. If no important member objects within 24 hours, the re-election meeting will be initiated. The standard for election is naturally to see who holds the most shares. Okay, everyone, let's start voting, Liu Yakin said to the shareholders sitting in the conference room with a high-spirited look. She obtained the temporary right as the wife of He's Honking and the daughter-in-law of He Donglei, but this is far from enough. Mr. Liu, the time is not up yet, how about waiting? A veteran shareholder couldn't help but speak. It's only a dozen minutes away, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and get things done. Isn't it good to go home and sleep? Oh, I'm almost late. The old man's sleep quality is not good. Don't hold us young people back, a younger shareholder immediately retorted. Sir, times have changed. As long as tonight, Liu Yakin will be the chairman of Donglei International, and their supporters will naturally be great achievements. Why bother to look at the faces of these old men? In their eyes, these elders are just people who occupy the toilet without doing anything, and they have blocked the development of many young talents. The elder was so angry that his face turned red. He wanted to say something, but was stopped by his companion. Liu Yakin looked at them with a smug look on her face. Most of these elders are members of the He family and are loyal to the He family. Therefore, seeing them being defeated, Liu Yakin felt very happy. Okay, since there are no other opinions, let's start voting. The young shareholders who had the upper hand immediately showed off their power. The shareholders who supported Liu Yakin also echoed one after another, and the situation was almost one-sided. Liu Yakin's son Heodong sat aside, playing games on his mobile phone, as if everything in the outside world had nothing to do with him. Alice. Seeing that the general situation was gone, the few remaining elder shareholders couldn't help but sigh. Although they abstained to maintain the dignity of the struggle, it was of no avail. On the contrary, after tonight, they will be kicked out one after another and become passers-by, and will no longer have anything to do with Donglei International. Seeing that the country that they had worked hard for decades had changed hands like this, they were really unwilling. But what could they do? After all, they were all outsiders. The voting process that was arranged in advance was naturally over very quickly. Everyone knew that it was just a formality. The reason why Liu Yakin was able to gain people's hearts so quickly was actually closely related to the current situation of Donglei International. Since the rise of Zhuyi and Huaio, Donglei International has also become popular by virtue of its relationship with Huaio as a foundry. But soon, it was affected by the US sanctions. Huaio's main business is communications business and mobile terminals. After having its own chips, it got out of the sanctions and became very successful. But Donglei International is different. In addition to mobile phone foundry, it also has a large number of overseas trades, and the sanctions just caught its neck. Either compromise and give up cooperation with Huaio, or fight to the end and give up international business abroad. Hotunlai naturally chose the strong, which was equivalent to destroying the cake for many people. The shareholders in charge of overseas trade resented Hotunlai. In addition, Helen International has recently targeted Donglei International, which has made the already difficult overseas trade even worse. At this time, He's Honking happened to be critically ill, and Hotunlai was also anxious and entered the intensive care unit. Under such circumstances, Liu Yakin stepped forward and threatened to reverse the situation of Donglei International, and took Liu Bowen of Helen International to lobby everywhere, promising many benefits. Those young shareholders who only wanted benefits immediately saw the dusty hope, and they all turned to Liu Yakin's command. Anyway, they are all family members, and they are just good birds choosing trees to rest. In this way, the current situation was finally brought about. The voting is over. Now I declare that from now on, Ms. Liu Yakin will serve as the director of Donglei International. The most active young shareholder was announcing the voting results when he was interrupted by a sudden sound of the door opening. Who is so blind? The young shareholder was interrupted and immediately vomited foul language. Hotunlai, an old but very powerful voice sounded, shocking the whole audience. Everyone's eyes shot to the door of the conference room, and saw Hotunlai standing upright in a formal suit with a stand-up collar. Behind him stood Wu Changkong, the driver and bodyguard. Seeing this scene, the shareholders who abstained from voting could not help but burst into tears, while those who supported Liu Yakin looked dejected. Chapter 253 Roller Coaster. Father, you're awake. This is really God's blessing. However, you have just recovered from a serious illness, so you should go home and recuperate. You don't have to worry about the company's affairs in the future. On the contrary, Seeing the appearance of He Donglei and He Shuang, Liu Yakin was only a little surprised, and did not show any panic. And the tone of her speech was very confident, making people feel that she was already the chairman of Donglei International. It's not time yet. I have the right to cancel the re-election meeting. In other words, the chairman of Donglei International is me, not you. You should go home to recuperate, He Donglei said, suppressing his anger. After all, family disgrace should not be made public. Haha, what a joke, father. Times have changed. Now the largest shareholder of Donglei International is me, not you. So, I have the right to hold a meeting, Liu Yakin said with a smug look on her face. This is impossible. He Donglei's face turned black, and the thing he was worried about finally happened. Why not? If you are old and confused, I will calculate it for you. I have 20% of the shares, Yaodong has 10% of the shares, and is the only sober guardian at present. I have the right to call all the shares, then it adds up to 30% of the shares. In addition, except for the few shareholders who abstained from voting, 90% of the shareholders voted in favor of me, which means that I got 13% of the 15% of the shares they held. Total adds up to 43% of the shares, which is far more than the 30% of the shares you hold, Liu Yakin said proudly. The shareholders who supported Liu Yakin suddenly became proud again, and they were ready to follow her to make a big move. If you try hard, you may turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. Humph, He Donglei's face darkened a little more. This woman is simply hopeless. How is it, father, you have nothing to say now? Seeing He Donglei silent, Liu Yakin's momentum became more arrogant. What about our shares? At this time, He's Honking's voice came from outside the door. As the voice fell, He's Honking walked in with He Shuang and Sui. Originally, He's Honking didn't want to face Liu Yakin directly, and didn't want to tear his face in public, but he was forced to this point and couldn't care about the old friendship. Liu Yakin's face suddenly showed horror, but she quickly covered it up. Everyone else was confused by this sudden change. Didn't you say he was unconscious? Didn't you say you couldn't be contacted? Why are you here together now? Are you kidding us? The smiles on the faces of the shareholders who supported Liu Yakin froze again. This night was like riding a roller coaster, with ups and downs, and it was extremely exciting. You can't play like this. You gods are fighting, why do you mess with us mortals? Yes, it's us, my 15% and Shuang's 10%, add my father's 30%, that's 55%, this time, you have nothing to say, right, He's Honking said sternly. In the end, they still came to the point of confrontation. Ha, He's Honking, are you confused after sleeping? You still have 15% of the shares in your hand. After you got sick, you transferred the shares to me. Have you forgotten? This is the transfer agreement, with your signature and handprint, so, I have 58% of the shares in my hand. Even if I give her shares to him, it won't help, Liu Yakin said, pointing at He Shuang and then at He Donglei. Then she took out a transfer agreement from the file bag at hand, written in black and white, and with handprints. Seeing this, the shareholders who supported Liu Yakin were immediately revived. If this was true, then He Donglei really had no chance of turning the tables. However, after several ups and downs, they have already had psychological traumas. They don't know what tricks He Donglei and his friends have, so they are all waiting and watching. This is impossible, you must have forged it, He's Honking's face suddenly changed. What's impossible? If you don't believe it, you can find someone to check it now. See if it's your handwriting? Is it your fingerprint? Ha, He's Honking, I tell you, you owe me all these. Liu Yakin's face became a little ferocious. He's Honking was speechless. He was sure that he had not transferred his shares, but during the days of coma, he had a memory gap and didn't know what happened at all. Seeing this, the shareholders who supported Liu Yakin seemed to have taken a reassurance pill and began to be proud again. This time it's stable. It's stable, Greek letter omega? Some people even couldn't help but open champagne to celebrate. However, if nothing unexpected happens, there will definitely be an accident. Just when the newcomers were smug and the old people were sad, the forgotten Sui came out, walked to the big screen and turned on the power. Sui, you are not a member of Donglei International. What qualifications do you have to come here? I tell you, even if you married that little Gowan, you are not qualified to come here. Now, immediately, get out. Liu Yakin was furious when she saw the person coming. Haha, auntie, don't be so angry, you haven't become the chairman yet, Su Wei smiled slightly when he heard the words, and continued the action in his hand, connecting the big screen with a mobile phone. Come on, drag this bastard out and throw him on the street. Liu Yakin was furious when she saw Su Wei ignoring her authority, and shouted at the door. However, the several security guards who rushed in were stopped by Wu Changquang. As the bodyguard of Mr. He, Wu Changquang's skills and authority are obvious to all. Therefore, the security guards could only stay where they were and could not move. You guys, Su Wei, if you don't leave, I'm going to call the police to arrest you, Liu Yakin shouted at Su Wei. Okay, call the police as soon as possible, but then you will definitely be arrested, Su Wei said as he searched on his phone. What a joke, what a joke. Why did the police arrest me? Are you going to say that the transfer agreement is fake? Liu Yakin was so angry that she laughed. I believe the agreement is true, but it was signed when the parties were unconscious. That doesn't count, Su Wei continued. Bah, don't slander me. Be careful or I'll sue you for defamation. Liu Yakin's face changed even more and she screamed. Defamation? Everyone, watch the video. Pictures speak louder than words, Su Wei said, pointing his finger, and a video began to play on the big screen. Chapter 254. The old man is very bad. In the video, a doctor with his back to the camera injected an unknown drug into his honking, who was lying on the bed. Then he sat by the bed and waited. Soon, his honking, who was in a coma, responded, woke up in a daze, and looked around blankly. The doctor raised a hand and placed a pendant in front of his honking's eyes and swung it. Hypnosis. His honking in the picture soon sat up stiffly, his eyes were lifeless and empty, like a walking corpse. At this time, the doctor's strange shakuyer was heard. His honking began to repeat a sentence when he said it, and then it was connected, and it turned out to be a verbal agreement for share transfer. When Li's honking became proficient, Liu Yakin appeared in the picture. Maybe she had been watching from the side. The next step was to record the verbal agreement that his honking said, and then, with the help of the doctor, the paper document was signed. The whole process was completed under the doctor's mental suggestion and guidance. Bang! A ceramic water cup hit the big screen, and a large crack appeared. The picture suddenly became incomplete. This is synthesized. You are spreading rumors, Su Wei. I will sue you for defamation. I will sue you until you are bankrupt, Liu Yakin roared like crazy. Synthesized. You can find someone to check it now. If any frame is fake, I will lose, Su Wei returned her words just now. The video came from the mobile phone of the blonde nurse. According to her, this was evidence to blackmail Liu Yakin in the future. It can be seen that the motives and purposes of these people helping Liu Yakin are not pure. Liu Yakin was speechless. The shareholders who supported her looked as if they had been constipated for a whole year, and their faces were red. Brother, you have something, you should have taken it out earlier. Don't be so tormenting. This time it is completely over. It's over. OHMPH, I don't understand what you are talking about. Just wait for my lawyer's letter. Yeo Dong, let's go. Seeing that the matter was exposed, Liu Yakin hurriedly turned around and tried to pull her son Yeo Dong away. Wait a minute. At this time, his honking, who had been silent, stood up and blocked Liu Yakin's way. His honking, what do you want to do? Liu Yakin didn't realize that there was anything wrong with what she did, and shouted impatiently. Your behavior is suspected of being illegal, so, wait until the police come. His honking took a deep breath and said coldly. Even though they have lived together for more than 10 years, it is still a very unfamiliar feeling. His honking, you actually want to call the police to arrest me? You actually want to call the police to arrest me? Are you doing me justice by doing this? Liu Yakin looked at his honking with disbelief and asked loudly. Why did this man who always obeyed her suddenly become different? She thought that as long as he felt that he owed her, she could do whatever she wanted to him for the rest of her life, but she never expected that he would call the police to arrest her. All these years, I could tolerate whatever you did to me, because I really owed you this, but this time, you not only murdered me, but also murdered my father and Shuang. This has exceeded the bottom line. So unforgivable. His honking's voice was calm but heavy, making people feel very depressed. He's honking. I hate you. Liu Yakin wanted to pounce on him with a ferocious face, but was grabbed by Wu Changquang. With a special technique, she lost her strength all of a sudden and collapsed to the ground. Master. Su Wei was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Wu Changquang's strength to be so well hidden. He looked harmless on weekdays, but his moves were ultimate moves. His honking first looked at Liu Yakin lying on the ground with a complicated expression. Then he looked at Wu Changquan gratefully. Then, he said to the security personnel who came in before, "Take her away." "Yes, Mr. He, the current situation is clear at a glance. Donglei International is still under the control of the He family." The security personnel naturally did not dare to be vague and stepped forward to carry Liu Yakin out. He Yaodong on the side finally stopped looking at his mobile phone, but looked up at his father, and then followed his mother Liu Yakin. Honking. At this time, Mr. He came over with tears in his eyes and held his eldest son's hand. How many years have passed? He finally felt the sharpness of the eldest son again. Although he has been hidden for many years, he is not unfamiliar at all, and he is getting sharper and sharper. "Father, I'm sorry for your trouble," he's honking said with a face full of shame. This sentence made Mr. He shed 2 tears of joy or sorrow. For so many years, he thought that he could live peacefully without fighting, but now it seems that he was wrong, and he was very wrong. It was because he gave Liu Yakin too much tolerance that she became more and more unreasonable. Eventually, it led to today's disaster. Fortunately, Su Wei showed up in time, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. "Shuang, take Xiaohu down to rest first. The old man and I will deal with the company's affairs," he's honking said, turning to look at Su Wei. At this moment, his eyes were full of gratitude. "Yes, Father," he Shuang nodded and agreed immediately. Honking, "I'm a little tired too, I'll leave it to you here," he Donglei said this, and after saying that, he chased after Su Wei and he Shuang without waiting for his son to object. However, before leaving, he signaled Wu Changquan to stay with his eyes. This old man is very bad," he's honking was stunned for a long time before he shook his head with a wry smile. He had just performed a little, and this old man actually gave up directly. It was too irresponsible. Mr. He, welcome back, Wu Changquan rarely smiled and said to his honking. "Changquan, stop making fun of me, start working." His honking reached out and patted Wu Changquan's arm, and his eyes became sharp. Yet, the smile on Wu Changquan's face became even stronger. This night is destined to be bloody. On the other side, Su Wei and He Shuang, who were originally going to the lounge, were directly dragged by He Donglei to have a midnight snack. Several people didn't eat dinner. Now that the matter has been resolved, they feel relaxed, and their stomachs have found an opportunity to protest. In order to avoid being discovered, Su Wei took the time to take out the magic and taught He Shuang how to use it. Seeing his granddaughter's face suddenly changed, He Donglei was stunned with surprise. But soon he was relieved. For Su Wei, nothing seems impossible. The 3 of them didn't go far, just to a restaurant next to Donglei International Building. Although the grade is average, it is also authentic Shanghai cuisine, which can make people refresh their mouths. Mr. He was in a particularly good mood today, and pulled Su Wei to drink a few glasses. He Shuang's persuasion was fruitless, so he had to let him. So, before the food was served, the old and the young raised their glasses and drank to each other. Chapter 255 Origin. Xiaohu, Shuang will have to rely on you in the future. After 3 rounds of drinking, He Donglei took Su Wei's hand and said with emotion. "Grandpa," He Shuang couldn't help but roll her eyes at He Donglei, as if no one wanted her. Even though she changed to an ordinary face, she still had the aura of a school beauty. He Donglei didn't look at her, but continued to talk to Su Wei. "Oh. I regret it. If I had known this would happen, I shouldn't have accepted the help of the Liu family. Although Donglei International would only be a small and medium-sized enterprise, it would be better than being so upset now." He Donglei was melancholy after drinking, and pulled Su Wei to talk about some past events. Su Wei and He Shuang didn't speak. At this time, just listen quietly. It turned out that after the death of the founding father of the He family, that is, after the death of He Donglei's brother He Dongpen, the He family's position in the political arena plummeted. As a result, the He family abandoned politics and went into business, moving from the capital to the Magic City for development, and this formed a bad fate. This matter has to start from the war years. The He family was originally a businessman in the old times. They had some family background and lived a decent life. But after the war broke out, the invaders robbed their homes and money, and even their parents and siblings were brutally killed. Only the 2 brothers survived because they went out to play. From then on, the 2 brothers could only depend on each other, but they vowed in their hearts to avenge their relatives. So, the elder brother He Dongpeng signed up to join the army. At that time, He Donglei was still young, and was sent by his brother to live with a distant relative, where he worked as a helper for a wealthy family. In this way, the elder brother fought with the army and traveled most of the country of Xia. And because the younger brother could count and had a flexible mind, he embarked on the road of business, and he did better and better, and was recruited as a son-in-law by the wealthy family. So he started a family and started a business, and spread out. But the good times did not last long. After the victory of the war, the businessmen were hostile, and the wealthy family became useless overnight. Everyone, including He Donglei, was sent to work in the fields. Ho Tun Lai's father-in-law chose to commit suicide because he was so angry. Later, it was Ho Tun Peng who came to help Ho Tun Lai's family get rid of it. He followed Ho Tun Peng back to the capital to settle down. Then there was the Ho family in the capital. Unfortunately, his elder brother Ho Tun Peng was injured on the battlefield in his early years and lost his fertility. He never got married and had no children. Originally, Ho Tun Lai wanted to adopt his eldest son Ho Chunqing to his brother, but Ho Tun Peng refused. In his words, "This is fate and cannot be forced." In this way, until Ho Tun Peng's death, he was alone. It is precisely because of this that the whole family fell into decline after Ho Tun Peng's death. But now, Ho Tun Lai understands that this is his brother's good intentions. Because at that time, there were countless people with outstanding military exploits in the Great Xia Kingdom, and their descendants were even more numerous. In addition to Ho Tun Peng, the Ho family had no meritorious people, and they were not of good origin. Even if his honking was adopted by him, he would not be able to integrate into the circle. If you force your way in, your fate will probably be even worse after Ho Tun Peng's death. Therefore, when Ho Tun Peng was alive, he encouraged Ho Tun Lai to continue doing business and accumulated some wealth for the whole family. But life is unpredictable, and the big intestine is wrapped in the small intestine. The plummeting situation made the whole family very upset. Although they moved to the Magic City, they were determined to develop and expand Donglei International and return to the capital one day. This is how He's Honking and Liu Yakin got together. The Liu family is a wealthy businessman who returned from abroad. They have nothing but money. An unintentional encounter made Liu Yakin deeply fascinated by He's Honking's elegance. Liu Yakin, who had been spoiled since childhood, immediately started to pester He's Honking. At that time, He's Honking was still immersed in the pain of losing his wife. This affectionate and melancholy temperament made Liu Yakin unable to stop. Liu Yakin's parents couldn't persuade their daughter, so they had to find the whole family, hoping to make this a beautiful marriage. And promised that as long as the matter was accomplished, he could invest all his efforts in Donglei International to help it develop by leaps and bounds. He Donglei was moved. Moreover, he did not want his son to be immersed in pain and unable to extricate himself. Perhaps a new marriage could heal him? So, He Donglei talked to his son. Of course, it was just a way of asking to see if he could accept it. He's Honking seemed to have misunderstood. After a long silence, he nodded and agreed without saying anything. However, things did not go as planned. After the novelty wore off, Liu Yakin became jealous of He's Honking's deep affection because the object was not her. The melancholy that she once admired very much has also become a mockery in her mouth, and elegance has become a synonym for weakness. She also relied on the fact that the Liu family had helped Donglei International, and regarded herself as the queen, repeatedly ordering He's Honking. However, Liu Yakin was already pregnant at that time, and He's Honking could only choose to tolerate it. But this tolerance lasted for more than 10 years. Donglei International is developing better and better, but the relationship between the two is getting worse and worse. He Donglei often asks himself, what did I do wrong? In order to take into account Liu Yakin's feelings and to repay the Liu family's kindness, he gave the vast majority of the shares to their family, and Liu Yakin was the second largest shareholder of Donglei International. The second son, He's Hongshan, and the daughter, He Yunfang, could only get a little dividend from Donglei International and had no right to participate in management. The reason why He Shuang was given 10% of the shares was to make He Shuang have some value so that she would not be abandoned and neglected. If Liu Yakin knew how to be a good person, she could gather 55% of the shares. Therefore, Donglei International belongs to their family, and no one can take anything away. Unfortunately, she insisted on committing suicide and tossed a good family into pieces. I shouldn't have persuaded Honking at that time, Alice. This is all my fault. At this point, He Donglei regretted it. For more than 10 years, He has always been lucky. Until now. Liu Yakin did not hesitate to poison her son and tried to anger him, the father-in-law, to death. He Donglei realized how wrong he was. This made him realize what kind of life his son had lived for the past 10 years. One word, heartbroken. Grandpa, He Shuang held He Donglei's hand with tears in her eyes. She wanted to say something comforting, but her throat seemed to be blocked by something, and she felt very uncomfortable. Grandpa, the past is like the wind, let it go, everything should be looked forward, it's not too late now, there is still plenty of time to make up for the previous regrets. Su Wei hurriedly comforted him, and he was deeply moved by Grandpa He's words. A person's life is gone in the blink of an eye. Therefore, the only happiest life is to leave no regrets. Fight. Young man. Don't wait until you lose something before you regret it. Chapter 256, Coaxing to Sleep. Alice. I want to make up for it too, it's just that I feel my health is getting worse recently, and I can't do many things. It seems that my deadline is not far away. After listening to Su Wei's words, He Donglei joked to himself with a melancholy face. Grandpa, you are not allowed to say that. He Shuang was immediately unhappy when she heard it. She had no mother in her childhood, and her father was mostly depressed. Only her grandfather treated her the most and was the most kind. Don't worry, old man, you can live 100 years, Su Wei also said. Haha, then I will take your good words, I will try my best, haha. He Donglei looked at the two and said freely. Of course, this is just a comforting word. The most hateful thing is the parting. Grandpa, this is not a joke, the medicine you took in the hospital is of great origin. In addition to being able to repair body damage, it can also greatly increase life expectancy. That's why I said there is still plenty of time to make up for regrets. Su Wei saw the deep sadness in Grandpa He's eyes and said directly. He Donglei and He Shuang were stunned, looking at Su Wei in shock. There is actually such a medicine in the world? What? Don't you believe it? Su Wei looked at the suspicious eyes of the two and couldn't help but smile bitterly. He really couldn't prove this. Believe? I believe it. He Shuang was the first to express her opinion, and a happy smile appeared on her face. In her mind, Su Wei is already an omnipotent existence. So, she believes whatever he says. Believe I believe it too, He Donglei nodded very cooperatively. Although he didn't agree with it in his heart, the starting point of the young people was good, and it was worth encouraging. It was not until later that he showed signs of rejuvenation that he realized that what Su Wei said was true. Of course, these are all later stories. With the consolation of the two, He Donglei's mood finally improved a little. It's just that he drank a little too much and was a little tipsy. Su Wei called Zhang Liu and asked him to drive the three of them to the villa where He Donglei lived. In order to give He's Honking and Liu Yakin enough space for two people, he did not move in together, and took He Shuang to take care of her. Therefore, He Shuang is very familiar with this place. After arranging He Donglei to sleep, He Shuang came to the living room downstairs. Seeing Su Wei sitting on the sofa, she walked over, kicked off her shoes, climbed onto the sofa, and squeezed into Su Wei's arms. And took the initiative to kiss her red lips. Today, if it weren't for him, she didn't know what her life would be like. After responding enthusiastically, Su Wei gently pushed her away. What's wrong? He Shuang looked at Su Wei with blurred eyes and asked. Nothing. Su Wei shook his head and gently stroked her delicate face, but his eyes were as calm as pure water. Don't you want me? He Shuang asked a little disappointed. She finally mustered up the courage. Of course I do. Every day, but so many things happen today. You're tired too, you need to rest well, otherwise, you won't be able to get out of bed tomorrow, Su Wei said softly, but the last sentence was said while biting her ear. Hateful, then you have to coax me to sleep. He Shuang's face flushed with shame. Okay, sleep, my dear baby with Su Wei's low singing. He Shuang finally fell asleep. He gently put her on the bed, covered her with a quilt, and quietly left the room. The moment he closed the door, the gentleness on Su Wei's face disappeared instantly, replaced by a cold and murderous aura. He did not go to the room that He Shuang prepared for him, but walked out of the gate of the villa. Boss, as soon as Su Wei left the house, Zhang Liu and Jihan, who had rushed over after hearing the news, came to greet him. You stay here first, and notify me immediately if anything happens, Su Wei said to the two. Yes, boss, the two agreed quickly. As he said that, Su Wei drove out of the villa by himself and disappeared into the night of Magic City. Although Liu Yakin was controlled and the crisis of Donglei International was temporarily resolved. But the main account has not been settled yet. So, Su Wei is now on his way to find Liu Bowen. According to the captives, Liu Bowen will rest in a private club called Magic City Paradise tonight. Drive to Magic City Paradise in the suburbs. Although the surroundings are a bit desolate, there are many luxury cars. Su Wei's Mercedes-Benz can only be parked on the side. After getting off the car, Su Wei did not rush to go in. Instead, he swiped his phone on the side of the road, pretending to be waiting for someone. In fact, he was observing in secret. I saw a couple dressed gorgeously walking towards the gate. Several security guards immediately came to meet them. One of them took a pure black card from the man, swiped it on the instrument, and the indicator light showed green. The security guard immediately returned the black card respectfully to the other party, and then made way. The man and the woman walked in with a haughty look. They walked out with an air of no one else in the world but them. It turns out that only cards are recognized here, not people. This made Su Wei frown slightly, feeling a little difficult. At this moment, a car with a Dung Fork logo stopped not far from Su Wei. A middle-aged man with a Mediterranean look and a woman dressed beautifully got out of the car. Mr. Yuan, did you bring the VIP card? The woman asked as soon as she got out of the car. Of course, I spent a lot of effort to get it, the Mediterranean man said, patting the pocket of his clothes. He looked cautious, as if there was some rare treasure in it. That's good, I told you in advance, Boss Song is very difficult to make an appointment with, you have to perform well later, it's worth my effort. The beautiful woman looked contemptuous. Of course, later, I'll have to ask Miss Wen to help me say a few good words, the Mediterranean man said, and took out an anonymous bank card from another pocket. It's just a small gift, not a respect, there are 100,000 in it, and the password is 6 sixes, the Mediterranean man handed the bank card to the woman flatteringly. Humph. Got it, when the beautiful woman saw the bank card at first, her eyes lit up, but when she heard that there was only 100,000, her face suddenly fell. Poor, 100,000 yuan, in here, not even enough to order a bottle of wine. However, for the commission later, she could only bear it temporarily. Reluctantly, she took the bank card and stuffed it directly into her chest. Because she was wearing an evening dress, it was just a few simple pieces of cloth. Seeing the woman's coquettish operation, the Mediterranean man's eyes were straight. What are you looking at? Do you have money? The woman rolled her eyes at him unhappily and walked forward. HMPH. You stinky bitch, if I didn't need you to be a matchmaker, no one would bother with a piece of slut like you, the Mediterranean man complained in a low voice as if he was feeling sour, but then he chased after her with a smile on his face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257 Retribution. In the upper class, there is a hidden profession called socialite. They have a glamorous appearance and a wide network of contacts. Some people who need connections will pay them to act as matchmakers, and after the matter is completed, they will give corresponding commissions as rewards. The woman in front of him is obviously the socialite in the rumors. Su Wei's eyes lit up and he started to follow. Pretending to walk and look at his phone, he bumped into the Mediterranean man lightly. Ouch, sorry, Su Wei apologized quickly. Little punk, are you blind? Seeing that it was an ordinary young man, the Mediterranean man was immediately furious, and his previous unhappiness was vented. As he said that, he raised his hand and wanted to slap Su Wei twice. Mr. Yuan, what are you still dawdling about? At this time, the woman in front turned around and shouted. Oh, here it comes, you got it easy this time, be careful next time. The Mediterranean man glared at Su Wei fiercely and turned to run towards the door. The woman had already reached the door. There's going to be something interesting to watch, Su Wei sneered, playing with a pure black card in his hand. I just wanted to borrow it just now, but I didn't expect that Mediterranean was so hateful. Let him lose everything. Sure enough, it was just as Su Wei expected. The Mediterranean man who couldn't produce the black card was refused entry, and the beautiful woman was so angry that her face turned green. It took a lot of effort to make an appointment with the customer, But now Mediterranean has diarrhea. Isn't this a pitfall? Will she still have the reputation of the little queen of socializing in the future? This woman also has a bad temper. She slapped the Mediterranean man twice, which made him stunned. But he reacted and got angry, and the two of them wrestled with each other in an instant. The security personnel of Magic City Paradise quickly pulled the two aside and sternly warned that if they made trouble here, they would be blacklisted and banned from entering forever. The two were so scared that they stopped immediately, but they still stared at each other with hatred. At this time, Su Wei came over whistling. He held the black card between two fingers and handed it to the security guard. Ling. Swipe the card, green light, pass. However, before leaving, Su Wei took a meaningful look at the Mediterranean man who was controlled by the security guard. This look scared the other party half to death. Because the Mediterranean man had recognized Su Wei as the young man who had just bumped into him. Just now, he actually wanted to slap him in the face. Isn't this like turning on the light in the toilet, looking for death? Little did he know that the black card Su Wei used was his. Is this retribution? What will happen to the Mediterranean man? Su Wei didn't know, and he was not interested in knowing. With his head held high and his chest puffed out, he walked into the castle-like paradise of the Magic City. The gate was decorated magnificently, and after entering, it was extremely luxurious, just like a fairy palace in the sky. There was the psychedelic of feasting and revelry, the solemnity of splendor, and the majestic and luxurious momentum. It made people feel that the style was instantly sublimated. The visitor was either rich or noble. The waiters were all handsome men and beautiful women. Uniforms, stockings, cheongsams, and dresses were a grand visual feast. However, Su Wei had no time to appreciate them at the moment. He followed the information given by the captive and walked straight to the innermost part. Hello, sir. Please show me your VIP card. After walking through the hall, Su Wei came to the entrance of a corridor, but was stopped by a security guard in a black suit. Sorry, sir, you can't enter. After Su Wei showed his black card, he was told by the security guard why. Su Wei frowned and asked unhappily. Sir, the area in front belongs to the Supreme VIP area. If you don't have permission, you are not allowed to enter privately, and the black card in your hand is just an ordinary membership card, the security guard replied calmly. Oh. That's it. Hearing this, Su Wei pretended to be enlightened and glanced around. There was no one and no surveillance. Sir, is there anything else you need help with? The security guard issued an order to expel the guest. Su Wei could only leave in disappointment. But just as he turned around, Su Wei suddenly screamed and fell to the ground. The security guard ran over in a hurry. Sir, just as he stretched out his hand to help Su Wei up, he was hit by a knife on the neck. The huge force knocked him out instantly. Su Wei turned over and caught it, and stuffed it behind the green plant beside him. He also took off the other's shirt and put it on himself. The phantom on his face was activated, and he instantly turned into the security guard who fainted. It took less than 10 seconds for Su Wei to finish all this. Jinzei, what are you doing? At this time, a security guard in black clothes suddenly came out of the art and asked Su Wei. No, Su Wei pretended to wipe his leather shoes, and after confirming that the buddy was hidden, he stood up and said vaguely, Go in, it's time to change shifts. The security guard who came later didn't care much and said to Su Wei. Yes, Su Wei nodded. He secretly said, May God help me, and walked in. After passing through the corridor, there was a different world inside. There was a circular hall in the middle, which was decorated magnificently. There were rows of rooms around the hall, just like a hotel. Here, Su Wei met many security personnel again. I think it was to protect the privacy of the guests. There were no surveillance cameras installed. They relied entirely on manual defense and adopted a loose outside tight inside approach. It was difficult for outsiders to penetrate. However, Su Wei was protected by the phantom demon and had a smooth journey. Soon, he found the room marked 1017. Dong dong. Su Wei raised his hand and knocked on the door. Who? Liu Bowen's voice came from the intercom on the door. Mr. Liu Bowen, someone outside said he wanted to see you. Su Wei smiled. What's his name? After a short silence, Liu Bowen asked again. He said his name is Su Wei. As soon as the voice fell, there was a click, and the door was opened from the inside, and Liu Bowen, wearing a neat suit, appeared in front of him. Where is he? Liu Bowen asked the security guard with a serious face, looking at him with his head down. Right here, Su Wei said. slowly looking up. Liu Bowen was shocked. Although he was wearing a pair of glasses, he could still recognize that the person in front of him was Su Wei Benhu. Assistant Liu, long time no see, Su Wei said as he took a step forward. What do you want to do? Liu Bowen staggered back in fear. Nothing, I just want to have a good chat with you about what happened in Donglei International these 2 days. Su Wei walked into the room without stopping, and the door closed quietly behind him. The heavy solid wood door immediately blocked the sound from the outside world, and also blocked the sound from inside. Chapter 258 Trap. Haha, Su Wei, you are not an ordinary person, but you came later than I expected. When the door closed, the panic on Liu Bowen's face disappeared, and he showed a playful look. Liu Bowen, don't blame me for being too frank. With these rotten sweet potatoes and stinky bird eggs, you want to turn the tables from me. It's too much of a joke. Su Wei also laughed. He noticed the thugs behind the door as soon as he opened the door, but he didn't take it to heart. Su Wei, you are still arrogant when you are about to die. I'm not afraid to tell you, they are just responsible for collecting your body, Liu Bowen said after a cold snort. Oh, so there's someone else? Su Wei asked curiously. Su Wei, we finally meet. At this time, a graceful young man with long hair walked out from the inner room. He has a handsome face, elegant appearance, and first-class temperament, but unfortunately he has a pair of narrow eyes, which adds a bit of coldness. Behind him, there are 2 men, one fat and one thin. Oh, who are you? Su Wei asked after a careful look. The long-haired young man who was walking almost stumbled, and the BGM that came with it was instantly out of tune. I don't know you. Oh. Su Wei, you don't even know Mr. Liu, and you dare to offend him? I really don't know if you are a fool or a fool, Liu Bowen mocked from the side. Mr. Liu, oh, I don't know him. Su Wei looked like he didn't care about you. Boy, I warn you, don't be arrogant. Apologize to our young master quickly, otherwise, you will be unable to live or die later. Seeing Su Wei disrespecting his master, the 2 people behind Mr. Liu immediately shouted. Apologize? You have to apologize if you don't know him. Oh my god, then I won't do anything in my life, just apologize to people. Su Wei looked at the 2 with contempt. You, enough. Is it fun to waste time talking to a dying person? Master Liu's cold voice sounded, interrupting the 2 lackeys. Yes, master. Zhuan Eugene and Zhan Baochen could only shut their mouths in dissatisfaction, but the 2 pairs of hateful eyes were still staring at Su Wei opposite them. Because of Su Wei's affairs, the 2 were punished by Master Liu. Su Wei, I admire your courage, but you have to pay the corresponding price for destroying the new map. Cut off one of your arms, compensate for all the losses of the new map, and then offer He Shuang to me, and I can consider sparing your life. Master Liu stared at Su Wei with narrowed eyes. New map? What is the new map? Is it famous? I still have $2. Is it enough? A trace of murderous intent flashed in Su Wei's eyes, but he said it deliberately, and then he really took out 2 $1 coins from his pocket and threw them at Mr. Liu's feet. Ding ding dang dang. Except for Su Wei, everyone's eyes were staring at the 2 coins. After watching them turn a few circles on the ground, they lay quietly in front of Mr. Liu's toes. No one has ever dared to humiliate him like this. For a moment, the air became extremely silent, as if it was frozen. Liu Bowen on the side almost couldn't help but shout out a word, absolutely. Good. Very good, Su Wei, you have successfully angered me. Tonight next year will be your death anniversary. Mr. Liu was so angry that his face turned ashen, and his cold murderous intent was undoubtedly revealed. Young Master Liu, right, don't be so confident, it has been said since ancient times. The moon waxes and wanes, and people have their ups and downs. How do you know that tonight next year won't be your death anniversary? Facing young Master Liu's surging murderous intent, Su Wei was unmoved. Instead, he twisted his neck and moved his shoulders, looking calm and composed. Sun Lao, kill him for me. Young Master Liu's roar seemed to come from light years away, full of endless anger. Crash! The door of the inner room opened without wind, and a bald old man in a black robe flew out with his own BGM. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Su Wei. This is a master. Su Wei couldn't help but lock his eyes for a while, and then locked onto the bald old man. Oh my god, what the hell is this? Thick black eyebrows, wild beard, and thick nose hair, all showed that the other party had abundant body hair. But it just happened to grow in the wrong place, with a smooth and hairless head, like a boiled egg falling on a pile of hair. The key is that after landing, Is he 1.5 meters tall? He had to look down to find it. Su Wei laughed, not because he was unprofessional, but because he couldn't help it. Boy, you are looking for death, the bald old man called. Sun Lao angrily punched Su Wei. He was going to hit his face, but because of the height difference, he ended up punching his chest with his small fist. He was really fierce and evil. Su Wei took a step back in fear, and goosebumps all over his body. Swish! At this moment, the bald old man changed his fist into a palm, and a black spike more than 10 centimeters long shot out from his sleeve, fast and urgent. Fuck. This old man is very bad. Because the distance was too close, Su Wei had basically no time to dodge. While activating the death grip, he swung his fist horizontally, and with a bang, the black spike flew away and nailed it to the concrete wall, almost disappearing. Are you from the Iron Palm Gang? Old Sun looked at Su Wei's blackened palm, and a trace of solemnity appeared on his face. Iron Palm Gang? I don't know them, I've only eaten teppanyaki, Su Wei replied coldly. HMPH, not the best. Hearing this, Old Sun no longer hesitated. He waved his hands and several black thorns flew out. While attacking, they also blocked Su Wei's position to dodge. His technique must be said to be very clever. Unfortunately, Su Wei didn't need to dodge at all. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the black thorns that were attacking him. Although the attack of the black thorns was very fierce, it was not as fast as a bullet. As a sniper, Su Wei had excellent eyesight, and it was easy for him to catch the hidden weapon with his bare hands. Everyone couldn't help but feel disappointed with Old Sun, but he looked very proud. Bang! It happened in a flash. The black thorns in Su Wei's hand exploded, and a bunch of flying needles with blue light shot straight at Su Wei's face. It was already so close, and with the power of the mechanism, even a king-level warrior would have difficulty dodging it. The corners of Sun Lao's mouth had already begun to rise, ready to smile for victory. In a flash, no one believed that Su Wei could dodge this attack. However, when nothing unexpected happened, something unexpected happened. A light blue light flashed in front of Su Wei, and the flying needle suddenly hit a wall of air. It was less than a centimeter away from Su Wei's face, but it was like a chasm that could not be crossed. Crash! After a moment's delay, the flying needle suddenly scattered and fell to the ground. Chapter 259 Clergy. How is this possible? The face of Old Sun, who was about to smile, instantly turned into an expression of disbelief. The surefire attack did not work, and this kid actually had a trick up his sleeve. No wonder he dared to take the hidden weapon with his bare hands without fear. Crack! Su Wei clenched his 5 fingers, and the black thorn was instantly crushed and scattered all over the ground. Don't take out these junks, don't hit the children, even if there are no children, it's not good to hit the flowers and plants, isn't it, old man? Su Wei said with an evil smile. Old Sun was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Boy, you must die, Old Sun rushed up in anger. Although he was small, his momentum was not weak. Every attack was with a force of 10,000 pounds, as if the air was knocked away and spread around like ripples. However, Su Wei was not weak either. He waved his pair of iron fists with a thunderous sound, which made Old Sun dare not test his edge easily. It is rare to find someone who can practice external martial arts to such an extreme. Both of them tried to control their strength so as not to cause too much damage to the house, but the decorations inside the house were not so lucky, and spider-web-like cracks were formed. If they used all their strength, the house would definitely collapse. This is the strength of a king, and the earth can be shaken with a single move. The face of Mr. Liu, who was watching the battle, became even gloomier. This Su Wei's strength far exceeded his expectations, and he could even fight with Liu's elder Gusun. How old is he? He can already be on par with the king. In this case, this person's talent is higher than his. How can such a monster be allowed to survive in the world? You know, Mr. Liu has been practicing family-inherited skills since he was a child. Now at the age of 32, he has just entered the diamond realm. Liu Bowen, who was standing aside, had some inexplicable looks in his eyes. He grew up in the United States since he was a child, and he was somewhat disdainful of ancient martial arts. He believed that no matter how high the kung fu was, he would be afraid of a kitchen knife. Technology is the existence that kills everything. But the blue light that flashed in front of Su Wei just now made him very interested. He seemed to have seen something similar. Could it be that Su Wei, in addition to being an ancient warrior, is also an alien with force field abilities? People outside the field have their own ulterior motives. Those who are fighting each other. Although Old Man Soon is not tall, he is very fast and strong, and his hidden weapons are elusive, making it difficult to defend against. Unfortunately, his opponent is Sui, a man who cannot be dealt with according to common sense. At this moment, he has turned on the automatic defense function of the force field shield. In other words, artificial intelligence has taken over part of the work, using the camera on the Phantom to capture the trajectory of Old Man Soon's movements. Then relying on powerful computing power, it predicts the action, time and attack point of releasing the hidden weapon, and then turns on the corresponding force field shield. It's like opening a clairvoyant, anticipating the enemy's moves at every step, so that Old Man Soon's hidden weapon has no place to use. This is equivalent to pulling out the teeth and claws of a tiger, which makes Old Man Soon very frustrated. Little did they know that Sui was not fighting alone, but 2 against 1. With Sui's abnormal strength attribute bonus, it didn't take long for Old Man Soon to be beaten into panic. This result made young Master Liu and Liu Bowen frown. Even after sending out a king-level warrior, they couldn't even deal with Sui? This is unscientific. Zilla. During the fight, Sui grabbed one of Old Man Soon's sleeves, and with a powerful force, he instantly tore the entire sleeve off. Just as Sui was about to throw away the sleeve, he accidentally discovered that there was also a pattern of a snake wrapped around the skull on the corner of the sleeve. This was exactly the same as the black shadow that sneaked into Yun Shujin last time. They were indeed in the same group. Cannon hammer. Sui threw away his sleeves and punched Huanglong. Old Man Soon, who had lost the power of the hidden weapon, didn't dare to take it head-on. He dodged in a panic, and there was an irreconcilable panic in his steps. This was immediately caught by Sui, who had a keen eye. Shankeo. Bang! The Old Man Soon, who couldn't dodge in time, was knocked out directly. It turned out that the cannon hammer just now was just a feint, and the real killer move was here. Unfortunately, the Old Man Soon had no time to react and was hit hard. However, this old man was also a ruthless person. He hurriedly used the heavy weight and stabbed his feet into the concrete floor, leaving 2 scratches several dozen centimeters deep and several meters long to stabilize his body. Puff, you are using Bajiquin. Are you the descendant of Bajiman? The Old Man Soon, who was forcibly stabilizing his body, couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, and asked Sui with surprise. This posture and this strength are definitely correct. I am indeed using Bajiquin, but I learned it from the old man and old lady who were doing morning exercises in the park. How is it? It's okay, Sui smiled and teased. Puff, the Old Man Soon, who had just calmed down, was so angry that he spit out a mouthful of blood again. Is this human language? Bajiquin learned from old men and old ladies? Can he beat a king in the early stage to the point of vomiting blood? You can't even coax a ghost like this. Brother Bowen, your people are not asleep, are they? At this time, Mr. Liu's voice revealed a strong dissatisfaction. My people are fighting hard, but you are just standing there watching. Sir, don't panic, I'll come right away. Upon hearing this, Liu Bowen quickly raised his hand and clapped 3 times. Buzz! The lights in the room suddenly dimmed, and from the original warm yellow, it turned into a creepy green. The grass will dry up, the flowers will wither, only the Lord's way will last forever, amen. With a chant like a magic sound that penetrated a brain, the lights in the room turned into dazzling white light. At this time, a blonde, blue-eyed, handsome, tall, thin, and white-skinned middle-aged man walked out from the inner room. He was wearing a white robe, a silver cross on his chest, and runes printed on his collar and cuffs, which looked very mysterious. He held a Bible in his right hand and a silver shining rapier in his left hand. The whole person was full of a weird aura. As the man in the white robe stood still and waved his hand, dazzling white light immediately gathered towards him. He waved his hand again, and the white light flashed and disappeared, returning to its original warm yellow color. It's him. Sui couldn't help showing a strange expression on his face. Although he had never seen this guy pretending to be a ghost, Sui recognized him as the doctor who hypnotized his honking in the video by hearing his voice. No, not a doctor, but a clergyman. Just because he was wearing a white robe and only his back was exposed, he was naturally mistaken for a doctor. Archbishop Charles D., please help me, Liu Bowen saw the person coming and hurriedly said devoutly. Heresy will eventually be eliminated, and only the faith in the Lord is eternal. Charles D. had a pretentious look on his face, and he kissed the silver rapier while speaking. In the eyes of others, the silver rapier suddenly flashed a brilliant light, as if it had life. However, in Su-Wei's eyes, there was no special effect at all, and Charles D's movements were like a jumping clown. He didn't even understand why this guy kept waving his hands when he appeared just now, to drive away mosquitoes? But why did the expressions on these people's faces look as if they had seen God every time he waved his hands? Chapter 260, The Divine Club. What Su-Wei didn't know was that Charles D had used his supernatural powers to affect other people's senses, allowing them to see and hear the scenes he wanted them to see. Commonly known as illusion. Su-Wei's mental power had been strengthened, so he would naturally not be affected by him, so it was like watching a movie without special effects. Stupid. Heretics. Kneel down and accept the punishment of the Lord. Charles D stared at Su-Wei with his eyes, holding the Bible in his right hand, pointing the tip of his sword in his left hand at Su-Wei, and said solemnly. In the eyes of others, Charles D was shining brightly at this time, and the image of a four-winged angel was faintly emerging. The white wings exuded a dazzling brilliance, and the hazy shadow could not see his face clearly. The 100 cloth and silver armor on his body looked solemn and holy. In his hand, a sharp sword emitting white holy light was pointed directly at Su-Wei. At this time, black smoke kept coming out of Su-Wei's body, and he seemed to be very afraid of the holy light, revealing a hideous face, as if he was a demon from hell. But no matter how Su-Wei struggled and twisted, he just stood there without moving. Of course, these were all scenes seen by others. Su-Wei only saw Charles D pretending to be a heretic, but he just didn't come up to fight. Heretic. Kneel down and accept the punishment of the Lord. Charles D saw that Su-Wei was unmoved, and immediately raised his voice again, staring with his eyes wide open, and his golden curly hair moved without wind. At this time, in the eyes of others, Charles's light was more dazzling, the image of the angel behind him was more solid, and the sword emitting holy light in his hand was even more surging, piercing Su-Wei opposite. The lightsaber pierced through the black mist on Su-Wei's body, and the place it touched made a sizzling sound like charcoal grilling. Su-Wei's figure was twisting wildly, as if he was suffering from great pain. Of course, this was only a scene in the eyes of others. Su-Wei remained unmoved. Heretic. Kneel down and accept the punishment of the Lord. Charles D roared for the third time. This time, his eyes were wide open, his golden hair was exploding, and veins were exposed on his forehead. His holiness was a little more ferocious. Damn. What's going on? Su-Wei found that the eyes of Liu Gongzi, Liu Bowen and others were full of gloating, as if he was going to die in the next second. Moreover, there was a bit of dullness and fanaticism in these people's eyes. Anyway, it was unusual. There's a problem. There must be a problem. Su-Wei remembered that Charles D had hypnotized his honking before, and props were used at that time, but now it seems that it was just a trick to cover up people's ears. He can actually make others fall into illusions without knowing it. Fortunately, Su-Wei's mental strength has been strengthened, otherwise he would have been fooled today. Then I will have fun with you. Thinking of this, Su-Wei pretended to be confused and struggled to walk towards Charles D. That extremely reluctant expression can directly win the Best Actor award. Huh? Charles D breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Su-Wei move. When he launched an illusion attack on Su-Wei just now, he immediately felt a mental resistance from Su-Wei, and had to strengthen the output again and again, and it seemed that he was about to collapse. Fortunately, Su-Wei finally moved, which meant that he was under an illusion. Although the resistance was still very large, once he entered the illusion, it would be difficult to get out by himself. At this time, in the eyes of others, Su-Wei was entangled by the angel with a light rope and pulled back. Soon, Su-Wei moved in front of Charles D with great difficulty. In position, Charles D was afraid that the night would be long, and he raised the rapier in his hand and stabbed it towards Su-Wei's heart. Seeing that the silver sword was about to pierce Su-Wei's heart, everyone's faces began to overflow with smiles of victory. Click. But something unexpected happened. Su-Wei's right hand, which had been drooping, was raised like lightning and grabbed Charles D's silver sword. The grip of death was so hard that it was not afraid of the blade, so that Charles D couldn't pull it back even if he wanted to. Charles D was horrified at this moment. The other party was not controlled by his illusion. Fuck you, old Mew, heretic, right, judgment, right, punishment, right. In surprise, Charles D was kicked over by Su-Wei, and then he went up and punched the handsome old man. In just a few punches, even her mother couldn't recognize him. The others woke up from the illusion immediately. The holy light, angels, and holy swords were all gone. The only thing left in the air was Charles D's pig-like screams. Looking in the direction of the sound, Maya, wow! What a shocking reversal. The two people who were originally judging and being judged were actually fighting like street thugs. Sue was seen riding on Charles D's body, hitting his face with a pair of iron fists. It made people feel painful just by looking at it. Fuck, what are you looking at? Hurry up and save people, Charles D couldn't help but wail. As a mage, he was pressed to the ground by a soldier, and his heart was full of despair. But those guys just watched and didn't help, which made him feel even more disappointed. Let's go together, Gu soon looked at Sue's fearful expression and shouted. Okay, others echoed. So far, Sue has left a very strong impression on people. What's more, now they have torn their faces and reached the point of no return. Bang! Without saying a word, Liu Bowen actually took out a pistol with a silencer from his arms and raised his hand to shoot Sue in the head. In the United States, he put a lot of effort in training. Within 10 meters, he can shoot whatever he points. And now, he is less than 5 meters away from Sue. Bang! However, what he didn't expect was that Sue pulled back his hand and shot the bullet away like a fly. This completely overturned his understanding of ancient martial arts. How could the human body ignore the damage of bullets and blow them away? Bang! Sue punched Charles D on the head, the ground cracked, and Charles' head was hit into the ground and exploded like a watermelon, deader than dead. I hate it. Most others point guns at me. Sue stood up slowly, looking at Liu Bowen with anger on his face, and the fist that killed Charles D was still dripping with scarlet blood. Ah, you how could you kill him? He is Archbishop Charles D. You are in big trouble, do you know? Liu Bowen was instantly scared. Sue actually killed Charles D., how dare he? Until this moment, he still believed in his heart that they were Americans, and only they had the right to kill people. And no one dared to touch them. Chapter 261 Anyone who offends me will be punished no matter how strong he is. Archbishop, so what? Anyone who offends me will be killed, no matter how strong he is. Besides, this is on the land of Daksha, it's not your turn as a fake foreigner to show off your power, Sue said as he approached Liu Bowen. Seeing Sue kill Archbishop Charles D without hesitation, Gu Sun and young Master Liu were shocked and even stopped charging. This guy is a lunatic. After all, their lives are at stake, and they don't want to lose their lives here. Don't come over here, I am a US citizen, and I am protected by the US. You have no right to judge me, and you have no right to hold me accountable. Liu Bowen was completely panicked, pointing the gun in his hand at Sue, but his arms were shaking. Charles D was his biggest support this time, but he didn't expect that he would be killed before Sue could last around. Trial? Accountability, haha, that's a game for the weak. For the strong, there's only one word, fuck. Sue looked at Liu Bowen with contempt and raised his middle finger. Kill him, whoever kills him, I'll give him 100 million yuan. Liu Bowen suddenly fell into madness, aiming the gun in his hand at Sue again and preparing to shoot. At the same time, he shouted loudly, and the thugs guarding the door were immediately stimulated and took out their guns. However, Sue did not give Liu Bowen another chance. The distance of less than 3 meters was nothing to him. He rushed to Liu Bowen in an instant, grabbed his hand holding the gun, and with a click, the wrist joint was broken, and the gun in his hand was taken away by Sue. Bang bang bang. Sue, who got the gun, raised his hand sideways and shot, almost without aiming, one shot after another, and every shot hit the head. Those thugs who didn't have time to aim were sent to hell. Finally, the pistol was directly against Liu Bowen's forehead. No, don't kill me, I have money, I have a lot of money, give it to you, all to you. As long as you let me go. Liu Bowen was frightened to death in an instant, and his knee softened and he knelt in front of Sue. His face was as pale as paper, and his whole body was shaking like a sieve. Do you know about the US stock market tsunami? The market value evaporated, trillions of dollars. Will I still be short of money? Sue smiled even more contemptuously. People like Liu Bowen are nothing but a support. No bang. Without waiting for Liu Bowen to shout, Sue shot the last bullet in his pistol into his head. It went in from the front and exploded from the back, leaving a big hole. The blood directly dyed the area behind him red. Liu Bowen fell to the ground like a broken sack, with a hollow look in his eyes, still full of unwillingness and doubt. He didn't believe until his death that Su Wei dared to kill him. But he killed him like this, and it was very straightforward. After killing Liu Bowen, the gun in Su Wei's hand disappeared like magic. Then, he turned around and looked at the four people including Master Liu. Su Wei. We admit defeat today, let's make peace, Gu Sun's low voice sounded. With his current strength, it's okay to escape, but it's difficult to save the young Master Liu. You can't win, so just admit defeat. There's no such good thing in the world. If it were me, would admitting defeat be useful? Su Wei asked fiercely. Then what do you want? Gu Sun also asked back with a fierce face. At this time, whoever is cowardly will be unlucky. I don't want anything, I just want to kill you, or be killed by you, Su Wei said after a cold smile. You, Su Wei, don't be too arrogant. Do you know what kind of existence the Guanchang Liu family is? How can you be so wild? Master Liu was so angry that his nose was crooked. He had never seen anyone more arrogant than him. That's right. If I fight to the death, you may not be able to escape unscathed, Gu Sun also hurriedly agreed. He wanted to let Su Wei know that it was impossible to kill to silence him. At least he could escape. Once the Liu family knew who the murderer was, Su Wei would not be able to kill him even if you had 10 lives. Liu family of Guancheng, you are only allowed to kill me, but I am not allowed to kill you. Who made this rule? Su Wei was so angry at the two that he laughed. Humph, the strong prey on the weak. This is the rule, young Master Liu said with contempt. He had the entire Liu family behind him, and even the Eternal Palace, so he concluded that Su Wei would not dare to touch him. Then, that's what you said. Now I am strong and you are weak, so, don't resist. It's useless to resist. Su Wei smiled evilly. Anyway, in short, these people will definitely not be let go. Anyone who dares to attack Yishuang must die. You young Master Liu was speechless with anger. Su Wei, don't go your own way. Think about your family. Gu Sun heard this, and his heart was burning with anger. He couldn't help but threatened loudly. Family, haha, the Liu family, which has been passed down for hundreds of years, will have more. Su Wei laughed instead of getting angry, but his smile revealed a chilling murderous intent. Dare to threaten my family, then I will uproot you. The dragon has a reverse scale, and it will be killed if it is touched. You are crazy. Crazy. Gu Sun was also speechless by Su Wei. If someone else said this, he would have slapped him in the face, but Su Wei's words actually made him feel a little regretful. I don't know why. He felt that Su Wei was not joking. Others laugh at me for being too crazy. I laugh at others for not seeing through it. Old man, you are the first one, Su Wei said and rushed up with a cannon hammer. Those who kill people will be killed by others. Since you want to kill him, be prepared to be killed. Young master, run. Gu Sun's face changed instantly, dragging his injured body to meet him, shouting at the same time. Go. Young Master Liu was also a ruthless man, and he ran towards the door without hesitation. You should take care of yourself first. As he spoke, Su Wei's hammer arrived. Bang! Gu Sun crossed his arms and blocked his chest, taking Su Wei's blow. But this time he did not use the heavy weight, but used Su Wei's fist to hit the wall behind him. The direction was just opposite to young Master Liu and others. But if he broke through the wall, he would escape before young Master Liu. It turned out that the old man had no good intentions and wanted to split his troops into two groups, so that Su Wei could not split himself. Force field shield. Su Wei quickly activated the force field shield and blocked behind Gu Sun. He noticed that a light blue transparent shield suddenly appeared behind him. Gu Sun's face changed again, but it was too late, and there was only one chance. Gritting his teeth, he used all his strength to crash into the light blue force field shield. Bang! In front of the king level, the force field shield was not good enough. It was directly hit by Gu Sun and cracked, and then shattered. But at the same time, Gu Sun also lost the opportunity to escape by hitting the wall, because Su Wei had already blocked him. Humph, Su Wei, just wait to be slaughtered by the Liu family. Although Gu Sun lost the opportunity to escape, he also attracted Su Wei's attention. At this time, Master Liu had already run to the door. As long as he stretched out his hand, he could open the door and escape. Chapter 262 He who kills shall be killed. Haha, is that so? Watch out, how I caught them all in one fell swoop. Su Wei smiled indifferently. With a thud, the light blue force field shield immediately blocked the door. Although the force field shield is ineffective against the king level, Master Liu is only at the diamond level and does not have enough strength to break the force field shield. He was immediately blocked. Even if he wanted to break the wall, it would be impossible, because the force field shield would move and would always block it first. Ah! Master Sun, come and save me, help! Help! Master Liu yelled in anger. It was a pity that Gu Sun himself could not be saved, and the surrounding rooms were all occupied by them. There was no one at the moment, and even if he shouted at the top of his throat, it would be useless. The real Krakooning himself. Gu Sun looked ashen. I didn't expect there was such a fighting method. You can go on your way with peace of mind. 8 Extreme Collapse. Su Wei did not give Gu Sun a chance, and smashed him with a devastating punch. Gu Sun, who had lost the initiative, had no time to dodge and could only bite the bullet and take another blow from Su Wei. Puff. This time the power was very different, coming at him like a tsunami. Gu Sun instantly vomited blood. Not only that, his arms that resisted were directly broken. Su Wei's iron fist hit his chest heavily, and the wave of power hit him again, breaking his heart veins. In the end, Gu Sun died of bleeding from all 7 orifices. You know, Su Wei absorbed 2 more beast souls with power attributes. Although he did not break through to the Great Realm, his strength has improved. When Su Wei came to the door, Master Liu was still playing whack-a-mole with the artificial intelligence. Go to hell, Master Liu was furious and had a bad temper. He grabbed the thin man Zan Baochen beside him and threw him at Su Wei. Ah, Master, spare my life bang. Su Wei kicked him away directly. This was just an ordinary person, and he died instantly. Grandpa, young master, the fat man Zhuan Eugene was not spared and was thrown over next. Su Wei grabbed his throat and squeezed it gently. His larynx was broken. He kicked his legs a few times and followed Zan Baochen. You can't kill me, I am the young master of the Liu family. If you kill me, my father Liu Gang will not let you go. Seeing his men die one by one, Master Liu was completely panicked. Your father is Liu Gang. Su Wei was stunned. This joke is so familiar. Yes, my father is Liu Gang. Master Liu seemed to see a glimmer of hope. Liu Gang is nothing, Su Wei directly confronted. You Master Liu almost vomited blood. What's wrong with this guy's brain? He can't keep up at all. Do you want to see a show? It's very exciting to transform a living person, Su Wei said with a smile on his face, but in Master Liu's eyes at this time, it was a devil's smile, and a chill went deep into his bones. As he said that, the body of Zhuan Eugene and Su Wei's hand disappeared without a trace in an instant. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would even doubt whether he had been here. Young Master Liu was frightened by this phenomenon that defied common sense. He was so frightened that he couldn't speak. When you die, your body will also disappear out of thin air. Then, I will use a bomb to destroy this place so that no one can find a trace, so, no one will know whether you are dead or alive. Su Wei said slowly. Death is not terrible, but the feeling of waiting to die is the most terrible. What's more terrible is that when waiting to die, people are still talking about how they will die. You are a devil. At this moment, young Master Liu couldn't help crying. He regretted it. He regretted why he listened to Luan Guoqiang's lies and came here to deal with Su Wei. He regretted why he had to provoke Su Wei in this life. However, there is no regret medicine in the world. Young Master Liu, whose heart was crushed by the last straw, rushed towards Su Wei like crazy and suicidal. The result is self-evident. A small diamond level can't make any big waves in front of Su Wei. He also followed the footsteps of others. As I said just now, Su Wei collected all the bodies into the space. When I go to the wasteland, I can feed the zombies again. It's so fun. After doing this, Su Wei took out a square box from the space. This was the C4 explosives he got in Meninia. After setting the delayed detonation, Su Wei transformed into a security guard and quietly left. Boom. 2 minutes later, the bomb exploded. The shock wave of the explosion blew away all the doors and windows. The raging flames instantly engulfed the entire room. The whole club was in chaos in an instant. The guests who witnessed the explosion inside fled frantically. And the people outside who heard the noise squeezed in without thinking about the trouble. The scene was once in chaos, and some people even shouted that it was a terrorist attack. This made the chaotic situation even more out of control. All the security personnel of the club went out and tried their best to maintain order. But they were soon drowned in the crowd. Taking advantage of the chaos, Su Wei kept changing his appearance and left the Magic City Paradise with a crowd. Since Magic City Paradise is located in the suburbs, the fire truck came a little far away. After the raging fire was put out, the inside was already burned beyond recognition. Fortunately, no casualties were found. As for whether anyone died in this sudden fire, further investigation is needed to find out. However, during the investigation, bizarre things happened one after another. Evidence collection at the fire scene showed that the fire was caused by an explosion, but the question was, how did the explosives get here? After checking the personnel, it was found that the registered Mr. Liu and others disappeared strangely. If you say they were burned to death at the fire scene, there is no trace. If you say they have left the club, they are missing alive or dead. Of course, these headaches will be left to the enemy to worry about. Anyway, the goal has been achieved. Su Wei did not drive back directly, but drove the car to the riverside for a circle, and then found a place where no one was, and put the car into the space. Cut off all clues. In the early morning, Su Wei returned to Mr. He's villa, said hello to Jihan and others, and went straight back to the house. The night was long and he was not in the mood to sleep, but unfortunately the beauty was already asleep and he could not bear to disturb her. Seeing that it was getting late, Su Wei leaned on the sofa in the living room. In the early morning, before the sun shone in, there was a rustling sound on the stairs. Su Wei, who was originally sleeping, woke up immediately, but he did not get up, but squinted his eyes to look. He saw He Shuang, who was wearing a milky white nightgown, coming down from upstairs carefully. Her bare feet, tiptoeing without shoes, rose and fell lightly. It was obvious that she did not want to wake him up. So Su Wei cooperated very well and closed his eyes and continued to pretend to sleep. After a while, a fragrant breeze blew, and then Su Wei's nose itched. He couldn't help sneezing and woke up from his sleep. He opened his eyes and saw He Shuang's peerless face, close at hand, staring at him with a pair of big black and beautiful eyes, looking at him with both anger and joy. A flawless little white hand, holding a handful of soft long hair, tickled his nose. Chapter 263 Inhale. Good morning. Su Wei quickly reached out and grabbed He Shuang's hand, stopping her from doing anything funny. Why are you sleeping here? It's not like there's no bed at home. If Grandpa sees me, he'll blame me again, He Shuang complained. Her hand just struggled symbolically, and when it didn't break free, she let Su Wei hold it. Hey, you finally fell asleep. Actually, this place is pretty good too, with a big leather sofa, big and elastic. If you don't believe me, come and try it. Su Wei pulled He Shuang onto the sofa without saying anything. Well, it was indeed soft, big and elastic. Big bad guy, someone was obviously attacked. Young man, you don't have martial ethics. Just as the two were fighting, a coughing sound came from upstairs. He Donglei got up. It's all your fault. He Shuang jumped up as if she had been electrocuted, holding her collar with both hands and ran upstairs. At the end, she turned around and stuck out her tongue at Su Wei, giving him a fierce look. Unfortunately, Su Wei was shameless and blew him a kiss with a smile. He Shuang was so angry that she stamped her feet and then hid in her room. In one word, beautiful. Beautiful. Ziahu, good morning. After a long time, Mr. He came down from upstairs slowly. Good morning, old man. Su Wei got up and greeted him. Sit down, it's like your own home, there are not so many restrictions. He Donglei pushed Su Wei back to sit on the sofa, and he sat down beside him. Ziahu, you worked hard last night. When people get old, they always have a lot of feelings and are annoying. After sitting down, He Donglei couldn't help but complain about himself. I was really a little drunk last night. I said a lot of things that I should say and a lot of things that I shouldn't say, which made people feel sad. That's not true, Grandpa. I really like to listen to the stories of the older generation. That's something we can't experience now, and we can get a lot of inspiration from it. How great. Su Wei smiled and comforted. After learning about the twists and turns of the He family last night, it made people feel more sad. Behind the glamour, there are unknown stories. This is a famous family. The old and the young chatted with each other. Not long after, He Shuang, who had washed and dressed up, came down from upstairs. With light makeup, she was like a lotus flower emerging from the water, which made people's eyes bright. Ding dong. At this time, the doorbell rang. He Shuang hurried to open the door. After a while, he's honking, who looked tired, followed Shuang in. Dad, Xiaohu, seeing the two of them, he's honking showed a long-lost smile on his face. Come and sit down, Grandpa. He nodded and called his son over. He had the habit of drinking morning tea, and he also poured a cup for his honking. Grandpa, Dad, Su Wei, I'll go make breakfast for you. What do you want to eat? He Shuang asked. Although she was not good at cooking, it should be no problem to cook for her family. Whatever, as long as it's edible. Grandpa he knew his granddaughter very well. When he heard that she wanted to volunteer to make breakfast, he said with a wry smile. He was old and couldn't stand the tossing, but he couldn't bear to disturb his granddaughter's interest. Or should we wait for Aunt Pooh to come? It's almost time. His honking looked frightened. You. Humph. He Shuang saw that Grandpa he and his father were so unhelpful, and immediately shouted with resentment on her face. Haha, let me do it. Su Wei quickly stood up and volunteered. Okay, then let's try Xiaohu's cooking today. The father and son of the He family agreed in unison. Humph. He Shuang's little mouth pouted even longer. Shuang, come and help me. Su Wei smiled and took He Shuang's hand, and walked towards the kitchen together. Watching the two people leaving, the father and son of the He family both showed a relieved smile. When they came to the kitchen, He Shuang's little mouth was still pouting. Okay, don't be angry. What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Su Wei took He Shuang's little hand and comforted her. Humph, I won't eat any more. I'm full of anger. He Shuang hummed. Oh? That's a pity, but I know a good way to get rid of anger. Do you want to try it? Su Wei suddenly said mysteriously. What method? He Shuang was immediately attracted and asked curiously. Suck out the air. Suck him. He Shuang realized that she had been fooled, but it was too late. Her little mouth had been heavily kissed by Su Wei's big mouth. In the living room. Have you dealt with everything? After taking a sip of tea, Mr. He asked his son. Well, it's basically all handled. Everyone involved will be investigated. A trace of pain flashed across Lee's honking's face. This time, Donglei International was seriously injured. If it was not careful, it would lead to serious consequences, so he had to be cautious and tread on thin ice. The most important thing was that this matter involved Liu Yakin, a woman who made him feel conflicted. That's good, Grandpa he nodded when he heard it. Honking, I want to take this opportunity to withdraw. Grandpa he put down the teacup and said to his son. Well, he's honking's and paused for a moment, but soon returned to normal, picked up the teacup and took a sip. Today, I'll ask the legal department to draft the documents and announce it tomorrow. Grandpa he looked at his acquiescing son, and there was a hint of expectation in his eyes. Dad, are you in such a hurry? Why not wait until this matter is stable before announcing it? His honking was choked. He didn't expect the old man to be so anxious. No need to wait, just right. You can use this to establish your authority, take over Donglei International better, but Mr. He shook his head. Well, okay, seeing his father's insistence, his honking did not refuse. It was a matter of time anyway. Honking, what do you think of the development of Donglei International next? Although he was ready to step down, Mr. He still had to understand his son's thoughts first. Dad, I'm going to cut off the current overseas business, his honking said shockingly. You know, Donglei International's OEM currently accounts for only 40%, and the other 60% are all overseas trade. If you cut off overseas trade, it would be like destroying your own martial arts. Honking, do you know the consequences of doing this? Donglei looked at his son in shock. He never expected that the first of the 3 fires of the new official would burn so fiercely. I know, but there is nothing we can do about it. Honking nodded, then frowned and continued. The allied countries led by the United States are now eyeing Daxia covetously. We are Huaio's second largest OEM, so they will naturally be concerned about us. If we give up cooperation with Huaio, it means that we will hand over all the initiative of Donglei International. Once they impose sanctions again, we can only obey their orders, so, I think it is better to suffer a short pain than a long one. Even if we give up most of the current interests, it is better to keep the initiative in our own hands. Honking analyzed thoroughly. Although he has not been in charge of things these years, he has not been idle. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264, ready to go. It's a pity, but what you said makes sense. After listening to his son's words, Dongle agreed. It was indeed as he's honking said, this was a choice made under pressure. It's not a pity. For a long time, the Allied countries led by the United States have regarded themselves as superiors and have not treated us as friends at all. They talk about anti-monopoly, but in fact they have achieved the ultimate monopoly. They let us fight to death, but they just sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. In this case, why do we have to put our hot faces on the cold buttocks? Honking said with some resentment. Over the years, Dongle International has made a lot of money for those suppliers, but now, when sanctions are imposed, no one is soft-handed. This can only mean that in the eyes of others, you are nothing. Okay, whatever you want to do, I support you. Grandpa Lee slammed the table and said. Dad, I want to talk to Xiaohu, see if you can help Ziwei with OEM. Since you have chosen to stand with Huio, then just do what Lao Mi doesn't like. Honking immediately expressed his thoughts. This was the decision he made after thinking about it for a long time last night. This is good, I think it's okay. Grandpa He raised both hands in agreement. After finding the direction, the mood of the two people suddenly improved. That's honking. How are you going to deal with Liu Yakin? After all, she is the child's mother, otherwise, finally, Grandpa He couldn't help asking. Dad, you don't have to worry about this, I'll take care of it. After a flash of contradiction in Honking's eyes, he ended the topic. If it were anything else, Honking wouldn't care too much, but this time Liu Yakin touched his bottom line, first making her father faint, and then knocking her daughter unconscious. If Su Wei hadn't arrived in time, then his family would have ended up tragically. So, this time, he wanted to teach Liu Yakin a lesson that he would never forget. Even if he was branded as ungrateful, he would not hesitate. Alice, what a sin. Since Honking said this, Grandpa He didn't want to ask any more questions. The atmosphere suddenly became a little dull. Breakfast is here. Just at this moment, Shuang came out of the kitchen with breakfast. Golden egg pancakes, cold side dishes, fried tofu, toast, and a plate of fried dumplings. Then, Su Wei followed and brought out 4 bowls of assorted vegetable noodles. A hearty breakfast began. Although Su Wei is not a chef, his level is still not bad under Xiao Wei's influence. Several people applauded the meal. During the meal, Honking proposed to Su Wei the idea of OEM for Ziwei. Su Wei naturally agreed with both hands and feet. Ziwei Electronics is now very busy, and it is great to have Dongle International, which is familiar with the process, join. In addition, when Su Wei heard Honking say that Dongle International's overseas business would be cut off, why not transfer those management teams to third countries? Anyway, Daksha country now has many export trade products that are sold to many third countries. Dongle International can completely take up one of the pillars. This idea is refreshing to Honking. In the eyes of third countries, Daksha is at the top, and Xiao manufacturing is also a high-end market. But they will not exploit capital like the United States, but hope to achieve a win-win situation. Such development is sustainable development. As they chatted, they talked about more business opportunities. After breakfast, Mr. He and Honking couldn't sit still. They hurried to the company and prepared to make drastic reforms. They wanted to create a brand new Dongle International as soon as possible, so that those suppliers in the United States would regret it. Shuang rarely came back and planned to stay here for 2 days, so Su Wei stayed to accompany her. The two also agreed to take a 2-day tour of the Magic City to make up for the regrets of Su Wei's last visit. They left as soon as they said they would. As for the house, there was naturally an ant hired to clean it up. Ling. But just when he went out, Su Wei's mobile phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was Xiao Wei's call. Hello, Xiaohu, I heard that you went to the Magic City. Why is your phone always turned off? As soon as the call was connected, Xiao Wei's worried voice came from inside. She called Su Wei several times yesterday, but none of them worked. What was even more strange was that she couldn't get through to Shuang either. After asking Chen Long, she found out that Su Wei had temporarily gone to Shanghai. With Chen Long's assurance, she finally put down her worries. Yes, Sister Wei. My phone ran out of battery yesterday and turned off. Then I forgot about it and only recharged it this morning, Su Wei explained hurriedly. Yesterday, for the convenience of movement, I turned off my phone, and it only turned on automatically now. Oh, is it about Donglei International? Xiaowei asked again. Yes, but it's all been resolved. Su Wei briefly recounted the whole thing, of course leaving out some of the private content of the He family. I see. I was wondering why Donglei International issued a statement yesterday to terminate its cooperation with us, but issued a statement this morning to withdraw it. Xiaowei finally understood the truth. Since the matter has been resolved, just pretend it didn't happen. Sister Wei, I will stay in Magic City for 2 days. After Donglei International is finalized, Uncle He will go to Huidu City to discuss with you in detail about further deepening cooperation. Su Wei also arranged it in advance. Okay, I will pay attention to the process here, Xiaowei replied. After the two confirmed some relevant information, they hung up the phone. Let's go, my Princess Shuang. After Su Wei put away the phone, he bowed to He Shuang who was waiting on the side. It was as if a knight was inviting a princess. He Shuang smiled and handed her hand to Su Wei, and the two walked out like this. The new car was already waiting on the roadside at the door. The driver was Zheng Liu, the driver named by Su Wei himself. As for Ji Han, he had already rushed to the detention point of the captives, waiting for Xianlong's people to receive them. Since they were not ordinary people, they naturally could not be handed over to the police, so Su Wei contacted Xianlong and asked them to take care of the aftermath. Whether to detain or behead depends on the records of these people. In the next 2 days, Su Wei and He Shuang went around the Magic City, played everywhere, and ate everything. With the magic, He Shuang chose a more ordinary female face, but her innate temperament still attracted a lot of attention. Especially the back view, which amazed many passers-by. But when they saw her appearance, they felt a bungee jumping drop and turned away. A perfect back view. Happy times are always fleeting, and 2 days passed quickly. He Donglei stepped down smoothly, and He's Honking became the chairman of Donglei International. The company has completed the necessary integration and is ready to go. In addition, with conclusive evidence, Liu Yakin was imprisoned, and she will receive 2 years of re-education in it. He's Honking's shares were also ruled invalid because of the video provided by Su Wei, which proved that the transfer agreement was signed against her will. Together with the shares transferred to him by Mr. He, He's Honking now holds 45% of the shares and becomes the largest shareholder of Donglei International. Chapter 265 Tracking. 2 days later, a private plane quietly landed at Huidu Airport. Xiaowei personally brought people to pick up the plane. Because, in addition to Su Wei and He Shuang, there were also Mr. He and He's Honking on the plane. He's Honking came to discuss cooperation with Su Wei. As for Mr. He, after leaving office, he felt that it was too boring to stay alone in the Magic City, so he decided to come to Huidu City for retirement. And he specifically wanted to live in Yanshujian. At that time, he can drink, play chess, and box with Mr. Su. After leaving the airport, everyone split into 3 groups. Each went back to their own home and each found their own mother. Xiaowei took He's Honking to Zuyi Industrial Park. He Shuang skipped 3 days of work and had to go back to make up for her homework. Su Wei took Mr. He back to Yanshujian to settle down. They had to get together in the evening, so Su Wei had to prepare for tonight's dinner. Needless to say, the dinner was very lively. Su's father and mother had a very happy chat with He's Honking. Xiaowei envied the scene. Su Wei saw this and hurriedly comforted her, saying that he would bring Uncle Xia and Aunt Xia over when he had time and have a good reunion. Xiaowei could only nod to comfort herself. Because she knew that her parents were working hard for the revival of the Xia family, and they probably didn't have the time for that for the time being. The next day, He's Honking left. The agreement was reached, and he had to go back to take charge of the overall situation and set up the production line as soon as possible. Xiaowei had handed over the hydrogen battery and part of the chip manufacturing to Donglei International for OEM, so she would be busy for a while. Under the leadership of Mr. Su, Mr. He became a member of the Xianhuayan elderly group, and because of his superb chess skills, he soon won the title of Xianhuayan Chess King. This made the old man even more happy. Mr. Luan. Good news, at the Luan family in Beijing, Zhang Qingshan walked into Luan Guoqiang's room with a happy face. What good news? Luan Guoqiang, who rarely rested at home and didn't go out to hang out, was eating lunch. Then Su Wei is fine, Zhang Qingshan replied. Su Wei is fine. You are so happy, which side are you on? Luan Guoqiang, who was drinking by himself, suddenly fell. Isn't this intentional to make things worse? Mr. Lewin, although Su Wei is fine now, he will soon be in big trouble. Zhang Qishan stepped forward to help him pour a glass and sat down opposite. What do you mean? Lewin Guoqiang asked with a strange look on his face. Mr. Lewin, have you forgotten who will deal with Su Wei this time? Zhang Qishan asked instead of answering. The Liu family of Guancheng and Liu Bowen of Helen International. Lewin Guoqiang remembered this clearly. Zhang Qishan told him about it specifically. Liu Bowen and Mr. Liu were the ones he built a bridge and a thread. It's been 4 days, and there has been no news from Mr. Liu and Liu Bowen, Zhang Qishan said slowly. You mean? Lewin Guoqiang couldn't help but feel a chill on his back. Yes, I guess they are in danger just like Ghostblade, Zhang Qishan nodded and continued. Are they so strong? What does this have to do with the good news? Lewin Guoqiang frowned. Now even the young master of Guancheng Liu family is dead, which made this young master of Beijing feel a little apprehensive. Young Master Lewin, think about it. Let's not talk about anything else. What kind of people are the Liu family of Guancheng? Young Master Liu is the young master of the Liu family and the future heir. Now that they are missing, what will they do? Zhang Qishan showed a gloating expression on his face. Humph, last time Ghostblade disappeared, didn't you say Kanjian would go find Su Wei? What happened? It's been so long, and there's no news at all. Lewin Guoqiang was even more angry when he heard it. Since Xia Yihu's comeback, the official power has been useless. Lewin Guoqiang felt that he had lost his greatest support, and hated Su Wei even more. Master Lewin, this time is different. Ghostblade, no matter what, is only a master-disciple relationship, but Master Liu is the son of the Liu family master, and he is also the heir to the family master. How can the Liu family just let it go if he is gone without any explanation, and they would rather kill the wrong person than let him go? Zhang Qishan continued to analyze. Well, that makes sense. Lewin Guoqiang's eyes lit up when he heard this. Master Lewin, there's more. Liu Bowen of Helen International is not an ordinary person either. His parents are important members of the U.S. Philly Consortium and have participated in many important U.S. plans. Now their son is missing in Daksha. Guess what they will do? Zhang Qishan laughed. Things are getting more and more interesting. Has the message been sent out? Lewin Guoqiang also laughed. The Philly Consortium is one of the 5 largest consortiums in the United States, and it is an existence that can influence the U.S. government. It is said that this term's U.S. President Kensden belongs to the Philly Consortium camp. Yes, I started to arrange it as soon as possible, and let them know about the old grudge between the two and Su Wei. Whether this matter has anything to do with Su Wei or not, he is the biggest suspect, and for these big forces, being suspected is enough to sentence him to death. Zhang Qishan raised his lips in an arc, looking very proud. Good. Lewin Guoqiang's mood became better and he drank 2 glasses of wine in a row. It feels good to wait and watch the show. At the same time, a middle-aged couple came to the second prison of Mo City. They came to visit Liu Yakin. Cousin, save me quickly, I don't want to stay here for a moment. Seeing the middle-aged couple, Liu Yakin lost control instantly and cried loudly through the glass window. This action immediately aroused the disgust of the middle-aged couple, and a look of contempt and disgust appeared on their faces. Yes, this couple is Liu Bowen's parents, Liu Tingshan and his wife Yu Fei. And this Liu Tingshan is Liu Yakin's distant cousin. How can you be so flustered? Liu Tingshan said with an unhappy face. Cousin, Liu Yakin, who was arrogant and domineering in front of others, was like a mouse seeing a cat when she saw Liu Tingshan, and her temper was gone. Let's talk about your matter later. I'll ask you a few questions first, and you have to answer them honestly. Understand? Liu Tingshan said with a cold face. I know. Liu Yakin nodded obediently. Her parents are gone, and now Liu Tingshan is her last straw. She must hold on to him tightly. Who proposed the plan to control Donglei International? Liu Tingshan asked in a deep voice. It was Bowen, Liu Yakin replied. Tell the truth. Liu Tingshan frowned slightly. Yes, it's true. It was Bowen who contacted me first. At that time, I was having a quarrel with his honking, and I agreed without thinking, Liu Yakin explained hurriedly. When was the last time you saw Bowen? Liu Tingshan asked. The night before the re-election meeting. Where? My home. What happened after that? Did you guys keep in touch? Yes, a few hours before the re-election meeting. Bowen called me. What did he say? He asked me how things were going, and I told him it was going very smoothly. What happened after that? Then I was sent here by that bastard he's honking. Liu Yakin couldn't help shedding tears as she spoke. Huh? Cousin, hearing you say that about Bowen, Liu Yakin suddenly realized something was wrong. On the night of the re-election meeting for the chairman of Donglei International, Bowen lost contact. A trace of pain flashed in Liu Tingshan's eyes. His wife Yu Fei's eyes were red behind him. Liu Yakin felt a chill on her back. Chapter 266, Dispatching Troops to Shizuoka. Tingshan, do you think Liu Yakin really didn't know, or was she pretending not to know? After coming out of the second prison of Magic City, Yu Fei couldn't help but ask in the car dealership. Just now, they were at Liu Yakin's place, and she didn't know anything, and they couldn't determine the final whereabouts of Liu Bowen at all. I don't think she dares to lie to me. After all, she still expects me to rescue her. Smart people won't lie at this time, Liu Tingshan said very confidently. Then do you really want to rescue her? Yu Fei asked with some hatred. It was because of this stupid woman that her son got into trouble. Humph. Wait, let's talk about it after we find Bowen, Liu Tingshan said coldly. The implication was that if Liu Bowen was in trouble, Liu Yakin would not be able to come out again. Well, Yu Fei, his wife, never questioned her husband's decision. When Su Wei drove the big guy into the Phaeton base, he clearly felt the difference. The defense level has been greatly improved, and the number of patrolling security teams on the streets has also increased a lot. Then you can see many unfamiliar faces working on construction sites and in the fields. The efficiency of the operation is quite high. Looking at the crowded base, Su Wei showed a satisfied smile. There is no world without talents, and population is always proportional to strength. Su Wei delivered a truck of medicinal materials to the warehouse, and then came to the base headquarters. Song Gan, who has always been conscientious, was not at work today. After Su Wei asked someone, he found out that the Armed Forces Department had held an emergency meeting early this morning. Minister Song Dan was invited to attend the meeting. Upon hearing about the emergency meeting, Su Wei rushed to the Armed Forces Department without stopping. Before entering the combat meeting room, he heard the heated discussion inside. Wow, this is quite lively. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Su Wei pushed the door open directly. The guards at the door naturally would not stop him. Boss, the meeting room was silent, and then everyone stood up and shouted in unison. Everyone, sit down. Who is that? Tell me what happened. Su Wei saw the solemn expressions of the crowd and immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. He quickly sat down in the main seat. Boss, the team we sent to integrate the Shizuoka base has lost contact, Song Gan, who was sitting next to him, reported quickly. The Shizuoka base is located 100 kilometers north of the Phaeton base. It is a small settlement with a population of less than 1,000 people. The leader is a man named Wang Yongchuan, who is a 3-star evolver. However, it is such an inconspicuous small settlement that made the 10 special forces of Phaeton and dozens of armed forces soldiers go there without returning. You know, now the Phaeton base can mass-produce level 9 strengthening potions and give priority to special forces. Therefore, the average strength of the Phaeton special forces is 1-star evolvers. And the soldiers of the armed forces have also reached the standard of average level 5 strengthening. Such a team can easily destroy a small or medium-sized base. Not to mention that there are 10 super soldiers wearing HT1 power armor among them. So, we suspect that there is another big force involved in the Shizuoka base. Song Dan quickly told Su Wei what happened. Who could it be? Su Wei frowned slightly after hearing this. There is basically no force nearby that can compete with Phaeton. Who could it be? We suspect it is the Tyrannosaurus Rex base, Su Xiaodong continued. He has always been in charge of intelligence work. His intelligence brigade has a certain responsibility for the occurrence of this accident. Failed to find out the true strength of the enemy. Huh? Su Wei cast his eyes on the holographic image map on the table. After being dragged by Su Xiaodong, it can be seen that the Shizuoka base is located in the middle of the Phaeton base and the Tyrannosaurus Rex base. Strictly speaking, it is closer to Phaeton, but the Tyrannosaurus Rex base has been strong for a long time, and it is not surprising that its sphere of influence has expanded here. There are no other big forces near the Tyrannosaurus Rex, otherwise they would have fought long ago. Then the answer is obvious. Boss, we were just discussing whether to send troops to Shizuoka now, because this may cause us to go to war with the Tyrannosaurus Rex in advance, Wang Bowen continued. Having just accepted thousands of new recruits, it would be a great challenge to the security of the base to withdraw troops at this time. How is the progress of the Black Phoenix upgrade? Su Wei asked thoughtfully. According to the latest data from the Ministry of Science and Technology, it has reached 99% and will soon enter the actual combat test, Song Dan replied. Nice, then there is nothing to consider, just beat him up. Su Wei immediately made the decision. With a Black Phoenix in charge of the base and Thor at his disposal, this battle can be fought. Yes, boss, Zhang Ling and others responded immediately. In Phaeton, Su Wei is the supreme existence. His words are orders. Soon, a loud assembly call sounded in the Phaeton base. One by one, soldiers wearing camouflage combat uniforms and fully armed ran out of the barracks and assembled in the large square of the base, shocking everyone's eyes. The most shocking thing was that 100 super soldiers wearing HT-1 power armor fell from the sky one after another under the action of flame thrusters, stunning the whole audience. Seeing such a scene, the old Phaeton residents burst into cheers of joy. The new Phaeton residents were awe-stunned. They knew that Phaeton was strong, but they didn't expect it to be so strong and terrifying. With such protection, they will really have no worries in the future. In the wasteland, being strong is synonymous with safety. While being complacent, they were also secretly thankful. Fortunately, they knelt early. If they resisted, today's assembly call would be blown for them. But then, something even more shocking happened. I saw a supergiant truck that was several meters high and dozens of meters long slowly drove out of the restricted area warehouse. The mighty figure and gray paint gave people a very mysterious feeling. And there was also a whole team of special forces accompanying and protecting it, which further explained the extraordinariness of this big guy. Seeing the brand new Thor, Su Wei was also shocked. This is completely different from the broken car he got when he got it, and the body of the car has been lengthened by several meters. Maybe it was the amplification device added by Fang Yunzi. Boss, the team has assembled. Please give instructions. Wang Bowen ran over to Su Wei and said. Okay, let's go now. Su Wei said after rubbing his hands excitedly. He couldn't wait to see the power of the new Thor. Boss, don't go, Wang Bowen couldn't help but say. What are you talking about? My wife has gone, how can I not go? Su Wei was immediately unhappy. Zhang Ling, who was standing aside, couldn't help but spit at Su Wei when she heard this. Yuna smiled like a flower. Yes, boss, Wang Bowen could only say helplessly. Chapter 267, The Black Fox reappears. Hey, wait, old Wang, if I'm not mistaken, the person sitting in the passenger seat of Thor is your wife. When Su Wei was about to take Zhang Ling and Yuna to set off, Thor happened to pass by. He suddenly saw a woman sitting in the passenger seat, and she looked very familiar. Yes, boss, you are not mistaken, Wang Bowen quickly replied. Oh my god, what a joke, let her get off and stay in the base. Su Wei was immediately unhappy. Weapon experts are precious, and you are afraid of dropping them if you hold them in your hands, and you are afraid of melting them if you hold them in your mouth. How can you let her go to such a dangerous place as the battlefield? Boss, let her go? Yunzi said she wanted to experience the power of Thor in person, so that we can verify the results of her modification. You know, this kind of large energy weapon is too powerful, and it is not easy to fire one, Wang Bowen quickly explained. Okay, then you have to make arrangements for her safety. After thinking about it, Su Wei nodded and agreed. Yes, boss, Wang Bowen immediately patted his chest and promised. In this way, the team of 1,500 people, under the watchful eyes of Wang Bowen, left the Phaeton base and headed towards Shizuzu. Wang Bowen turned around and walked towards the armed forces until the large army disappeared from sight. The three-ring wall of the Phaeton base has been started, and it is built in sections, one section in the east and one section in the west. The scale is still unclear. Now it mainly relies on the second ring wall, which is equipped with heavy weapons and guarded by many soldiers. Rustling. Not long after Wang Bowen left, a thin man in black stood up in the weeds under a section of the unfinished wall. He was dressed as a scavenger, but with a pair of sneaky eyes, he stared at the direction where the Phaeton army left thoughtfully. After a moment, the thin man turned around and left quickly, heading towards Jinquan City. Not long after he left, the Phaeton patrol team passed by here. The thin man ran all the way, and after a few hours, he came to an abandoned factory building on the edge of Jinquan City. After bypassing the scattered zombies wandering in front of the door, the thin man climbed over the back wall and went straight to a small warehouse. After knocking rhythmically on the door, the warehouse door was opened from the inside. The thin man immediately dodged and got in. "Sister. The chipmunk is back," a woman who opened the door shouted into the warehouse. Bang! A light came on in the warehouse, illuminating a small area. Several people were standing and one was sitting. The woman sitting there had a charming face and a pair of peach blossom eyes, which made her look particularly stunning. She was wearing a green gauze skirt, stockings, long boots, and a dark green thin long windbreaker, which was both sexy and fashionable. If Su Wei was here, he would definitely recognize that this woman was the leader of the thieves who kidnapped Ji Tongguang and others last time, Black Fox. It seemed that the shot did not hide her vital point, but only caused her to escape injured. Sister Fox. Phaeton Base has sent out more than 1,000 soldiers today. There is also a giant truck accompanying them. I suspect it is an energy weapon. The thin man called Chipmunk walked 3 meters in front of Black Fox, stopped, and reported respectfully. "Oh, is their target clear?" Black Fox's face suddenly showed a curious look. "The direction is northeast, and the target is uncertain, but judging from the amount of accompanying materials, it should not be close, at least 2 days' journey," Chipmunk continued to report. This is also a talent. He can see a lot of clues from these details. "How many people are left in Phaeton Base now?" Black Fox's eyes lit up when he heard it. "According to my estimates over the past few days, there should be more than 1,000 armed personnel left in Phaeton, but no more than 2,000. Another point, they recently forced thousands of survivors to work, and the armed personnel responsible for guarding account for more than half of them. I think this is an opportunity," Chipmunk added his own opinion after he finished speaking. "Really?" Black Fox asked with a smile. Those who know, all know that this is the look of Black Fox when she is angry. Last time, she was beaten by Su Wei and fled into the water, and she almost died outside. After returning, she was punished by the Demon King. When she thought of these, Black Fox was so angry that her teeth itched. So, this time she came again, with a fire of revenge. No matter whether Su Wei knows about the bullshit National Reserve, he must die. But before she dies, she must destroy the Phaeton Base first, kill all the people related to Su Wei, make him extremely painful, and then let him die in endless pain. Only in this way can she avenge the gunshot and reduce the resentment in her heart. Sister Fox, those newly recruited survivors are not united. As long as there is a little disturbance, they will definitely follow suit. At that time, the Phaeton defenders will definitely have to divide their troops to suppress them. In this way, our people will have enough confidence to kill in. Once they enter the wall, those people in Phaeton will become lambs to be slaughtered, the squirrel said with a look of longing. Plunder and killing are the favorites of the people in the demon realm. Even within the demon realm, there is constant killing and plundering, a true law of the jungle. Those who survive in such an environment are undoubtedly very tough. The Demon King has brought the strength of the demon realm to its extreme by relying on such survival of the fittest. Well, that's right, if the plan is achieved, I'll remember your first contribution. The smile on Black Fox's face became even stronger. She had been lurking here for nearly half a month, and finally she had waited for a great opportunity. "Thank you, Sister Fox." When the chipmunk heard this, he was so happy that he almost jumped up. The first contribution means more resource allocation, which means an increase in strength, and also represents an increase in status in the demon realm. The strong prey on the weak, and the treatment of the strong in the demon realm is absolutely excellent, so people are so eager to get there. Others showed envy. However, thinking of what they have learned about Phaeton in the past few days, he is definitely a rich man, and everyone's eyes burst into a glow of desire. Even if there is no first contribution, as long as you rush fast enough and kill enough, you will naturally grab more resources. Okay. Go and gather your subordinates quickly. At noon tomorrow, we will attack Phaeton. Black Fox clapped his hands and stood up and said, "Yes, Sister Fox." Everyone nodded in agreement. Then, except for the woman who opened the door, everyone else left the small warehouse and went to summon the subordinates scattered around. "Sister, there won't be any tricks, right?" The woman who opened the door couldn't help but ask suspiciously. "Haha, don't worry, I know what's going on." Black Fox smiled mysteriously. At the beginning, when she found out that Phaeton was forcibly recruiting, she had people send information to several settlements. Unfortunately, Phaeton is too strong, and even if those settlements are prepared, they can't resist. But according to today's news, the Phaeton army should have gone to the Shizukou base, because it was also one of the places where Black Fox delivered the news. Chapter 268, Lure the Wolf and the Tiger. After a long journey for most of the day, Sui and others arrived near the Shizukou base. The plants in the wasteland grow too fast. In some places, if no one cleans them up for 2 or 3 days, they will be occupied by plants. In order to ensure that thaw can pass smoothly, they had to build bridges in the mountains, which made Sui feel the hardships of Ma Xiaoyu and others on the road. Fortunately, the current Phaeton is strong and well-fed. The soldiers are good at their work and have no complaints. With the assistance of power armor, the speed is naturally hundreds of times stronger than those slave soldiers. Sui also found that although the combat effectiveness of power armor was forcibly weakened due to the appearance of enhancers, it was extremely useful in assistance, and could even serve as a human-shaped bridge, greatly improving the logistics support capabilities. It seems that this can be developed well. Sui and Yunar rode together. Dabe's physique is enough for 2 people, and there is still room. Zhangling rode Xiaobei and followed beside him. Boss, there are many more armed personnel at the Shizukou base. Su Xiaodong and his companions arrived earlier. When Sui and his companions appeared, he had already come back from investigation and reported the situation to Sui. Can you confirm their identities? Sui took out a telescope and looked at the Shizukou base in front of him. The rough city wall was nothing compared to the Phaeton, and there were obvious signs of new construction. It seemed that the other party was ready for a decisive battle. The Shizukou base has been under martial law and cannot be approached for the time being, so the details are unknown, Su Xiaodong replied. Yet, Sui nodded after hearing this. No wonder they didn't even encounter a scavenger along the way. Boss, there's no need to use Thor for this broken city wall. Give me 100 super soldiers. I promise that we can spend the night at the Shizukou base tonight. Li Yanli, who was standing aside, looked at the sun that had begun to set in the west and said confidently. Don't panic, take a look first. Sui waved his hand to stop Li Yanli. At this moment, something was thrown down from the wall of the Shizukou base. It landed with a sound and seemed very heavy. When Sui saw the things on the ground, his face turned livid instantly. It was 10 sets of HT1 power armor, but now they were in tatters, some were missing arms and legs, and the armor was stained with blood. It was clear how cruel the battle was at that time. Boss, I'm going to skin these grandsons alive. Li Yanli's eyes turned red instantly. There are always deaths in war, but humiliating the dead like this is unforgivable. Others also saw the broken armor through the telescope. It is conceivable that the driver is definitely in danger. Prepare for battle. Sui gritted his teeth and roared. Yes, boss, prepare for battle, Li Yanli and others shouted one after another. The Phaeton army immediately entered combat status. The bullets were loaded and the small electromagnetic gun began to accumulate energy. The small electromagnetic gun came from the Fengchao base. Although it was a production line for power armor, it also had the ability to produce and manufacture hit weapons. It was used to equip power armor. Ji Tongguang also found a lot of pre-disaster weapon information in the data copied from the Fengchao base. This has brought the mechanical science and technology of the Phaeton base to a new level. Blast him hard for me, boom boom boom. 3 small electromagnetic cannons fired backwards. After the projectiles were accelerated in the electron track, they gained a very high initial velocity and shot towards the wall of the Shizukou base with a sharp whistle. If they were hit, the 10-meter-high wall would collapse instantly. Woo! When the Phaeton army launched the electromagnetic cannons, a loud alarm sounded at the Shizukou base. As the cannons sounded, the soldiers standing on the top of the wall were filled with despair. But at this moment, a large piece of light blue light shield suddenly appeared outside the wall. Although it failed to completely cover the wall, it also protected important positions. Bang bang bang. 3 projectiles hit the light blue light shield, stirring up wave-like patterns, and the light shield was smashed into a concave arc, but in the end, they tenaciously resisted the attack of the electromagnetic gun. Damn, a large force field shield. Roar. Seeing the successful defense, a thunderous roar broke out over the Shizukou base. For a time, morale was high. On the other hand, the entire army of Phaeton was silent for a while, feeling that they had started off badly. Compared with the large force field shield, the small electromagnetic gun is just a younger brother. Sure enough, they came prepared. This level of energy weapon is definitely not something a medium-sized settlement can afford, Zhang Ling said after a cold snort. Lalei, Dongzi, you split into 2 groups, each with a small electromagnetic gun, and go around to the left and right sides. I don't believe it can defend 360 degrees, Su Wei clenched his fist and said fiercely. Yes, boss. Li Yanli and his son-in-law Xiaodong immediately took the order. Soon, Phaeton divided its troops into 3 groups. 3 small electromagnetic guns fired separately. But the opponent's large force field shield was also divided. Although the shield area was reduced, it could always intercept the attack of the electromagnetic gun. Obviously, the large force field shield is commanded by a super artificial intelligence. For the first time, Su Wei felt blind when he encountered an evenly matched opponent. Could he just use Thor to blast the opponent into slag? This was not Su Wei's original intention. Population resources are very precious to him, and he doesn't want to massacre the city unless it is absolutely necessary. Crash. At this time, the gate of the Shizukao base suddenly opened. A group of survivors in ragged clothes rushed out from inside. It is roughly estimated that there are also hundreds of people. And one by one, they rushed towards the Phaeton army position fearlessly. My God! Are these guys crazy? They dare to rush over with nothing in their hands. No, look behind. At this time, Zhang Ling's face suddenly changed and she screamed. Everyone took a closer look and immediately found that there was an equal number of zombies behind this group of people, including mutants of sports javelins and land tanks. Although the level is not high, it is also a threat that cannot be underestimated. No wonder these people rushed over frantically. It's a death anyway. The fear of zombies has penetrated into his bones, so he might as well rush to the Phaeton army, which is also human, to try his luck. It seems that the Shizukao base has a very powerful commander. Not only does he understand tactics, but he also understands people's hearts. He used this vicious plan to attract wolves and tigers. Boss, Su Wei, brother, seeing that the group of people had already rushed half of the distance and had not received the order to attack, everyone couldn't help but look at Su Wei. Although there would be a sense of guilt for slaughtering their own kind, this is a wasteland world. After surviving a disaster for 10 years, the guilt is very light. Kill. In the end, Su Wei had to make a decision. Although he wanted to save the group of people in front of him, the zombies were too close. While saving people, it would be easy for the zombies to break through the defense line. At that time, it would not only be the survivors who would be killed and injured, but also his Phaeton army. In comparison, which is more important, he knew it in his heart. Bang bang bang. The Phaeton army immediately pulled the trigger after receiving the order. Bullets rained down like raindrops. The survivors, who had a glimmer of hope in their eyes, fell down one after another like wheat being cut. Chapter 269 Spear and Shield. Soon, hundreds of survivors fell in a pool of blood. But the zombies behind them did not stop and continued to pounce on the larger Phaeton army. In their eyes, the more fresh flesh and blood, the better. Bang, bang, bang. The soldiers continued to fire. Small caliber guns were very lethal to survivors, but they were a bit stretched for zombies. Even the most common zombies would not lose their combat effectiveness as long as their heads and hearts were not smashed. Therefore, when a large number of bullets were fired, only a few ordinary zombies were knocked down. The others were still alive and well. Even if they were missing arms and legs, they would crawl over. Not to mention sports javelins and land tanks. It was difficult to hit one, but it was no big deal if one was hit a few times. Buzz! At this time, dozens of super soldiers equipped with HT-1 power armor turned on the thrusters, flew out, and pounced on the zombies. The chainsaw sword on the armor was turned on, and an ordinary zombie was split in half, and it was dead. With the protection of armor, they are no longer afraid of the zombies' bites. This chainsword is much more useful than a gun. Bang, bang, bang. The snipers in the Phaeton army also began to snipe the sports javelins, while other soldiers concentrated their fire on the land tanks. Even if it has thick skin and flesh, it can hardly withstand tons of damage. All of this was coordinated very tacitly. Seeing the Phaeton army that has grown up, Su Wei was very happy. Not long after, the zombie group was also wiped out. The air was filled with a strong smell of blood. After a while, a lot of time has passed. The sun has set on the hills in the west, indicating that the night will soon fall. Staying in such a bloody battlefield is a very dangerous behavior. Now there are 2 options for the Phaeton army. Either break into the city as soon as possible and garrison in, or evacuate to a safe area and wait for tomorrow's battle. Drive Thor up. In the end, Su Wei chose the former. He was also afraid that the night would be long and dreams would be many. Boom! The huge Thor truck, escorted by soldiers, drove onto the battlefield. It stopped more than 800 meters away from the Shizuoka base. The previous Thor's maximum range was only more than 600 meters. Now, after being optimized by Fang Yunzi, the maximum range has increased to more than 800 meters. While the power has been increased, the safety of the Thor has also been increased. After all, this big guy's a living target on the battlefield. The farther the distance, the higher the survivability. The super soldiers automatically divided a group to come over for coordinated protection. When the giant truck's butt was aimed at the Shizuoka base, Fang Yunzi began her performance. The operation was as fierce as a tiger. The carriage of the giant truck slowly unfolded, revealing its bloodthirsty fangs. Buzz! The blue-purple light lit up on the extended energy track, indicating that the Thor had begun to enter the energy storage stage. The Phaeton army was preparing to attack, and the preparations were in full swing. But on the Shizuoka side, it was terribly quiet. At this time, in the Shizuoka base, the person sitting in the main seat was not the leader Wang Yongchuan but a charming woman. Long dark red hair, an oval face, graceful features, especially the two plump, bright red lips, which are particularly sexy. She is wearing a half leather and half metal armor, which sets off her curvy figure to the fullest. She is wearing a pair of black boots, showing her queen style. If Sui were here, he would be surprised, because this woman is Ma Xiaoyu, the princess of the Tyrannosaurus Rex base. Unexpectedly, the enemies met here again. Princess, they have activated Thor. A soldier ran down the wall in a panic and reported to Ma Xiaoyu. How far is it? Ma Xiaoyu asked. The estimated distance is about 800 meters away, the soldier replied hurriedly. Ma Xiaoyu frowned. This is far from the distance she estimated. But it is too late to change the plan now. Notify Ma Xiaoyu, the force field shield is fully powered. After a short pause, Ma Xiaoyu immediately ordered. The decisive battle is about to begin, and success or failure depends on this move. Yes, princess, the soldier immediately stood up and ran to the city wall. Buzz! Soon, the giant force field shield opened again. When Thor was charging, the force field shield was also charging. The originally light blue halo became a little richer, and the thickness was constantly increasing. Bang bang! Li Yanli and Su Xiaodong on both sides continued to fire cannons in tacit understanding. This weakened the energy of the force field shield. Damn flies, Ma Xiaoyu, who was responsible for controlling the force field shield, cursed loudly. But she had to defend. Be patient. At this moment, Ma Xiaoyu's voice came from the side. Sister Yu, why are you up here? Go down quickly, it's dangerous here. Ma Xiaoyu was immediately anxious. What if the force field shield can't withstand it? Is it safe to go down? You and I both know the power of Thor. If we can't resist it, the city will be destroyed and people will die. However, I am still very confident in our basalt force field shield. Ma Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at Ma Xiaoyu and continued. Oh, that's true, Alice, the flies on both sides are too annoying. Ma Xiaoyu nodded. But at this moment, the electromagnetic cannons on both sides attacked again, and the system immediately allocated some energy to resist. Don't worry, concentrate all the energy and defend with all your strength, let them fight if they want. Anyway, even if the city wall is broken now, they dare not come in, Ma Xiaoyu said calmly. Okay, Sister Yu. Ma Xiaoyu immediately operated on the system, cancelled the force field shields on both sides of the base, and injected all the energy into the front force field shield. Boom. Immediately afterwards, the city walls on both sides were blasted with two big holes by the electromagnetic cannon. Oh yeah, Li Yanli and Su Xiaodong jumped up with joy. But they soon stopped laughing. Didn't you see that Thor was charging? One shot at them, no matter how many people went in, they would be finished. It was torture to take off my pants and just watch. Fortunately, I didn't have to wait too long. Soon, a few minutes of charging time passed. After Fang Yunzi pressed the launch button, Thor made a deafening sound, and a stream of energy composed of blue-purple plasma, like a giant lightning spear, pierced the Shizuoka base. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the spear and the shield collided with each other, bursting out with dazzling brilliance. The plasma energy and the force field energy continuously offset each other, and a temporary balance appeared. Thor couldn't pierce the basalt force field shield. But the energy consumption of the basalt force field shield was also rising sharply, and soon climbed to the red warning line. A shrill alarm sounded on the system. Warning, the energy load of the basalt force field shield. Warning, the energy load of the basalt force field shield. Warning, the energy load of the basalt force field shield. Chapter 270 Showdown. Sister you, what should we do? The piercing alarm immediately made Mazaylin panic, and she looked at Mazayoyu in panic. Start overload mode, Mazayoyu ordered immediately. Mazaylin was stunned. Although the overload mode can increase energy output, it cannot last long and will cause irreversible damage to many electronic components. In other words, the basalt shield will be directly destroyed unless a replaceable electronic component is found. What? If you can't block this attack, you will all die, understand? Mazayoyu slapped Mazaylin in anger. She didn't expect that Phaeton's Thor could be so strong. Oh. Yes, Mazaylin was suddenly awakened. If this attack can't be resisted, what can be done even if the basalt shield is preserved? Overload mode, start. Mazaylin quickly completed the operation. Warning, overload. System damage 1% warning, overload. System damage 4% warning, overload. System damage 8%. The alarms on the system increased instead of decreasing, because the overload mode only lasts for a short minute, and then the electronic components will stop working. Seeing the basalt shield system gradually damaged, while the opponent's Thor's attack did not seem to stop at all, Mazayoyu couldn't help but sweat in the palm of her hand. Did she bet wrong this time? Warning, serious overload. System damage 18%. A few dozen seconds passed in a flash, and the damage of the basalt shield system actually reached 18%. You know, once it exceeds 20%, the basalt shield will be directly scrapped. Mazayoyu's forehead was already sweating. How could the opponent's Thor be so strong? The overload mode had only lasted for less than 30 seconds, and the damage had reached a critical value. This can only mean that the opponent's Thor's attack was too fierce, causing the consumption of the basalt shield to increase dramatically, which in turn led to a significant reduction in time. Beep beep, the basalt shield system is overloaded, and the countdown for forced restart begins at 1098. Death is approaching step by step. Looking at the countdown on the big screen and the black smoke coming out of the basalt shield device, everyone present was so nervous that their souls were about to leave their bodies. Let's look at Phaeton. The situation is not too good. Thor's output has also reached a critical point. Unless it is overloaded like the basalt shield, it will stop. Fang Yunzi, who was controlling the system, hesitated for a moment and chose to shut it down. Reached out and pressed the switch. Bazwoosh, Thor trembled, and the blue-purple plasma disappeared instantly, leaving only the red energy track emitting a puff of green smoke. At the same time, on the Shizukou side, the countdown of the basalt shield system had just ended. With a beep, the system screen went black, and after the basalt shield device made a sound of being overwhelmed, sparks burst out in many places. Then, it was completely over. Everyone closed their eyes, almost waiting to die. Waiting for the moment when the plasma burned their bodies. However, after a few seconds, the expected pain did not come, and no screams from his companions were heard. So, he secretly opened his eyes and looked. The sky was still the sky, and the earth was still the earth. The other party's Thor was also lying down. Oh yeah! A burst of cheers of survival broke out over the Shizukou base. Sister you, we won, we won. Mazaylin couldn't help but grab Mazayoyu's hand, shouting and jumping. Seeing this, other people around also celebrated. This made the Hudang army see a strange scene. On the city wall, the people at the Shizukou base were cheering and jumping, as if they had won the final victory. Fuck. Did they take the wrong medicine? Is this worth celebrating? The Hudang army was confused. Winning a fart. What are you thinking? The other Thor only fired one shot and rested in the middle. The second attack will be launched soon. What can we do to fight against it? Looking at the laughter around, Mazayoyu was upset and raised her hand to slap Mazaylin, the instigator. Mazaylin was suddenly awakened. Yes, Thor can still attack, but the basalt shield has been scrapped. This is a hammer to win. Mazaylin couldn't help but shed tears of regret. The soldiers around her reacted and were stunned. What are you still standing there for? Send a signal quickly. This is the last chance, Mazayoyu said and rushed forward. After Thor fired a shot, the system needs to cool down and recharge, and this process only takes about 10 minutes. So, they don't have much time left. Oh, Mazaylin immediately understood Mazayoyu's direct arrangement, and quickly grabbed the signal gun beside her, rushed out of the tower and came to the top of the city wall. Beep. Two red signal flares rose into the sky, looking particularly dazzling in the dusk. Woo. Mazayahu, who rushed to the top of the city wall, let out a special whistle. In an open space about 100 meters away from the Phaeton army's position, more than a dozen mutant wild wolves suddenly appeared, all with terrifying bombs tied to their bodies. They were an ambush set up by Mazayahu in advance. Dig a hole in the ground and hide the mutant wolves inside. According to her calculations, this is where Thor is, but she didn't expect Fang Yunzi to increase Thor's range to more than 800 meters, so she didn't fall into the trap. But now, Mazayahu has already had to shoot the arrow on the string. Hearing Mazayahu's whistle, the mutant wolves tied with bombs immediately charged at the Phaeton army's position. They have only one goal, which is to launch a suicide attack and blow up Thor. Only in this way can they win an equal war. Otherwise, the fate waiting for them is a miserable defeat. Fuck. It's that little girl Mazayahu. I was wondering why she was so powerful. Su Wei was attracted by the special whistle and immediately found Mazayahu who appeared. Defense, long-range sniping, don't let those mutant wolves get close, quick, notify Dongzi and Lale, and quickly return to defend. Then, Su Wei saw something tied to the mutant wolves while they were running, which reminded him of the last time when this little girl used a similar method to rescue Zhang Ling. Those mutant wolves must have bombs tied to them. At the same time, two flares were launched. Su Wei couldn't help but have a bad feeling in his heart, so he ordered Su Xiaodong and Li Yanli to be recalled. He gave up the idea of capturing the Shizukou base. Woo. Alarms in the Phaeton army also sounded one after another. The frontline soldiers fired crazily, and the snipers aimed at the running mutant wolves. Su Wei and Zhang Ling also joined the sniping. Yuna rushed to protect Fang Yunzi. As for the super soldiers, they will be used as the last line of defense. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271, Counter-Encirclement. Bang, bang, bang boom. The duel of superpowered weapons had just ended, and the two sides immediately started another fierce fight. While the mutant wolf pack attracted the firepower of the Phaeton army, Mazayahu jumped off the nearly 10-meter-high city wall. The city gate opened, and a team of wolf cavalrymen rushed out, led by Mazayahu's mount Silver Shadow. It jumped and caught Mazayahu falling from the air, and then fell to the ground steadily with a plop. Charge! Mazayahu drew out his sword and swung it towards the Phaeton army's position. Silver Shadow sensed the master's fighting spirit, roared and rushed out. Roar! The wolf cavalryman behind him suddenly burst into a thunderous roar, followed Mazayahu and charged forward. Sister Yu, wait for me. At this time, Mazayahu rushed out of the city gate and chased the dust raised by the wolf cavalryman. Fire suppression! Fire suppression! The Phaeton army was not afraid of the mutant wolf pack's charge, and bullets rained down. Although the mutant wolves were thick-skinned, many fell under such intensive firepower. Some even had their bombs blown up, causing a violent explosion. Not only did it implicate the surrounding mutant wolves, but the flying shrapnel also caused casualties to the front line of the Phaeton army. After all, a distance of more than 100 meters is not far. According to the speed of the mutant wolves, it only takes more than 10 seconds. Bang bang bang. The sniper fired frantically, harvesting the mutant wolves. It was just that the hit rate dropped in the melee. Fortunately, Zhang Ling and Zayahu were the last to curb the mutant wolf's charge. But despite this, a mutant wolf took advantage of the corpse of its companion to break through the layers of defense and rushed into the position of the Phaeton army. It turned its head and bit off the detonator of the bomb. Boom. At the critical moment, 3 super soldiers rushed forward and used their heavy power armor to resist most of the explosion. The casualties of the soldiers dropped sharply, and the 3 super soldiers fell to the ground, obviously seriously injured. But there was inevitably a fault in the firepower point here. The remaining mutant wolves swarmed in. Bang bang bang. At this time, Su Xiaodong and his men rushed up and replenished the firepower point. But because the distance was too close, the soldiers would be hurt by the aftermath of the bomb. The super soldiers were immediately transferred to the front line to suppress the mutant wolves. Their chainsaw swords directly sawed off the wolf's head to reduce the detonation of the bomb. It was said a lot, but it was actually very fast. The whole process took only a few minutes. Dozens of mutant wolves were finally slaughtered. But at this time, Masayo's wolf cavalry had already rushed over. They held a spear in one hand and a large alloy shield in the other, covering most of the bodies of the knights and mutant wolves. Generally, bullets will bounce back when they hit the shield. Although sniper bullets can penetrate the shield, their lethality is greatly reduced. It is difficult to cause fatal damage to the knights wearing armor. Moreover, with a shield blocking them, it is impossible to accurately aim. Soldiers retreat, super soldiers take the lead, Su Wei ordered hurriedly. He knew that this was the elite wolf cavalry led by Masayo, and their strength should not be underestimated. Soon, the two sides collided fiercely, splashing brilliant sparks. The scene was like a heavy cavalry meeting a heavy infantry. But Phaeton's super soldiers are not ordinary heavy infantry. In addition to their heavy armor, they also have strong power, which is not inferior to the impact of the mutant wolf's charge. For a while, they were evenly matched and the fight was difficult to resolve. "I'll go." When Su Wei was about to go forward to meet the enemy, he was stopped by Zhang Ling. She was still brooding over Masayo's pursuit last time. Today is a good time to make a break. "Well, be careful," Su Wei looked at Zhang Ling and warned. Yet, Zhang Ling nodded, turned over and rode on Xiao Bei, and then rushed over. When the two women met, they were extremely jealous and immediately fought hard. "Kill, kill," just as Su Wei was about to order the encirclement and suppression of Masayo's elite wolf cavalry, deafening shouts of killing came from both sides of the position. Two teams of more than 1,000 armed personnel in strange costumes rushed towards this side. Among them were wolf cavalry. "Oh my! This girl is singing the empty city plan to me." Su Wei saw who was coming and immediately understood Masayo's plan. Use the Shizukao base to consume the main force of the Phaeton, and then use the ambushed troops ambushed in the wild to encircle and suppress. In this way, the Thunder God cannot exert his power. It must be said that this little girl is not only powerful, but also very courageous. Such a desperate play can also be thought of. Unfortunately, Masayo's wishful thinking was in vain. First, the range and power of the Thunder God exceeded her expectations. Not only did it destroy the basalt shield, but it also made the trap of the self-explosive wolf fail. Moreover, she did not expect that Phaeton already had the ability to mass-produce power armor. After all, in this wasteland world with almost zero industry, let alone the production and manufacturing of power armor, even if it was obtained by luck, the later maintenance would be a problem. However, Phaeton has been equipped with a large number of them. It was because the super soldiers blocked the charge of the elite wolf cavalry that their plan to encircle and annihilate Phaeton failed again. Although Phaeton's troops were not dominant, its equipment was definitely better than one level. Therefore, without the attack of the elite wolf cavalry, no matter how many miscellaneous troops there were, they could not shake the position of the Phaeton army. The Phaeton army, which was furious with the self-explosive wolf, immediately poured its anger on the miscellaneous troops. The battle was over in just half an hour. More than 2,000 miscellaneous troops died, escaped, and were captured. The balance of victory leaned towards Phaeton. At this moment, the elite wolf cavalry led by Masayo was surrounded. Of the hundreds of wolf cavalry, only a dozen could stand. Bang! Yuna, who joined the battle, blasted a wolf cavalryman off the back of the mutant wolf with a big fireball. The exploding fireball instantly made the knight lose his intuition. "Surrender, Masayo," Zhang Ling, who was panting, said to Masayo, who was also panting. "Okay." Surprisingly, Masayo actually dropped the sword in her hand and jumped off the back of the head wolf Silver Shadow. This stunned Zhang Ling and others. "Sister Yu," Masayo, who looked anxious, ran over and grabbed Masayo. Sweat and dust made her face look full of stains. "Put down your weapons, we have been defeated." Masayo's eyes could not hide the look of loss and sadness. But this was also a helpless move. The surroundings were surrounded by the Phaeton army, and almost all of the elite wolf cavalry she relied on fell. Although more than half of the Phaeton super soldiers were defeated, the gap in strength was too great, and there was no chance of a comeback. Hearing this, Masayo couldn't help but loosen the sword in her hand. The sword fell to the ground and collided with a stone. The sound seemed to be contagious, and the remaining dozen elite wolf cavalry also dropped their weapons and chose to lie down with their master. Chapter 272 talking about cooperation. A man who knows the times is a hero. Princess, we meet again. After the battle, Su Wei, carrying a sniper rifle, came over and said to Ma Xianwei, who looked lonely. Zhen Wei? Oh no, it should be Su Wei, it's you. Ma Xianwei looked in the direction of the voice and found a familiar face. She said with surprise and expectation. Take him away. Su Wei smiled evilly, and then waved his hand. The special forces rushed forward and tied up the remaining wolf cavalry. The ropes used were all made of mutant beast tendons, which were very tough. So far, the Battle of Shizuoka was won by Phaeton. After quickly cleaning up the battlefield, everyone entered the Shizuoka base to rest and wait for dawn to make the next plan. Just as Su Wei guessed, the Shizuoka base was empty, and even the leader Wang Yongchuan was nowhere to be found. It was unknown whether he had escaped or died in the battle. However, good things were still found here. That was the scrappy assault shield device. The power of this thing is obvious to all. Therefore, Su Wei called Fang Yunzi immediately. After checking it, he concluded that it was scrapped. More than 20% of the electronic components were damaged and the device could no longer be started. But the good news is that as long as the corresponding electronic components are replaced, it can be restored to normal. This made Su Wei very happy. We have no shortage of electronic components. This thing must be taken back. After it is repaired, it will be another trump card. This is very nice. After watching the basalt shield device being packed and loaded into the car, Su Wei went to find Zhang Ling and Yuna with satisfaction. Unfortunately, the two women were busy with military affairs and had no time to deal with him. Su Wei had to wander around the base alone. This Shizuoka base is much better than the original Shimu camp, and the scale is also larger. What a pity. Boss. Not long after, Su Xiaodong ran to find Su Wei. Dongzi, what's the matter? Su Wei asked casually. Boss, the beauty has an appointment. Su Xiaodong looked at Su Wei and said mysteriously. Are Minister Zhang and his team done? Su Wei looked at the small square in surprise. The place was brightly lit and crowded with people. No, Su Xiaodong shook his head. Oh, who is that? Su Wei looked curious. Ma Xianwei, she said she wanted to talk to you alone. If you refuse, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Su Xiaodong's expression became even stranger. The brothers were all wondering if the boss had slept with her during the last time he was lurking. Otherwise, why did Ma Xianwei look so resentful when she looked at Su Wei? Moreover, Minister Zhang looked jealous and went up to Ma Xianwei and asked her, what are you talking about? You will regret it for the rest of your life. Su Wei was stunned by what he said. Wait, Dongzi, what's that look in your eyes? Su Wei felt that the atmosphere was getting weirder. No, boss, did you see it wrong? Su Xiaodong shook his head like a rattle. Are you kidding? How could he get involved in such a thing? HMPH, then why don't you lead the way? Su Wei didn't bother to care what these people were thinking. Yes, boss. Su Xiaodong hurriedly walked forward. In this way, the two came to a private house one after the other. The special forces and super soldiers were guarding here. Obviously, the prisoners inside were not ordinary people. Su Xiaodong took Su Wei directly to the third floor and came to the door of a bedroom. Boss, please. With that, the two walked into the bedroom. There was a faint fragrance floating in the air. The room was well decorated. It seemed that the previous owner was also a woman. Ma Xianwei had her hands tied behind her back and her feet tied together. She sat on the head of the bed against the wall and dozed off. Even when she heard the door open, she didn't open her eyes. I heard you were looking for me. Just tell me what you want to say. Su Wei sat down on a chair brought by Su Xiaodong and asked. Hearing this, Ma Xianwei opened her big black and beautiful eyes, looked directly at Su Wei and said, Can we talk alone? Just you and me, okay, Dongzi, you go first. After a little hesitation, Su Wei agreed. Yes, boss. Su Xiaodong walked out of the room with a look of as expected, and even locked the door considerately. Now you can talk. Su Wei looked at Ma Xianwei indifferently and said. What figure, what bondage, all do not exist. Oh, Su Wei, let's cooperate. Ma Xianwei suddenly said something out of the blue. What, cooperation? What can I cooperate with you? Su Wei was shocked. Could this little girl be crazy because she lost the war? Help me gain the right to rule the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I swear allegiance to you. In this way, Can't you take down the Tyrannosaurus Rex base without bloodshed? Ma Xiaoyu said shockingly. Su Wei didn't know what to say. The child was seriously ill. How is it? Ma Xiaoyu asked, staring at Su Wei with a pair of big, beautiful black eyes, as if trying to see something from his expression. Haha, a mere Tyrannosaurus Rex base, can't I fight it myself? After being surprised, Su Wei smiled indifferently. I know that with the speed of Phaeton's development, it will definitely surpass Tyrannosaurus Rex in the future, but if you cooperate with me, you can take down Tyrannosaurus Rex now. With hundreds of settlements around Tyrannosaurus Rex, you can get a huge amount of population resources in a short period of time. This can make Phaeton's development take off. Ma Xiaoyu smiled. Although Su Wei didn't agree, he didn't refuse it outright, which means there's still a chance. She had learned about Phaeton and asked about Su Wei before, and now it comes in handy. It sounds good, but how can I guarantee that you won't betray me? Su Wei asked ambiguously. Well, I believe you will always remain strong and I can't betray you, right? Besides, I'm not afraid to tell you that I like strong men the most, Ma Xiaoyu said, smiling charmingly at Su Wei. That enchanting look can simply seduce people's souls. Flattering doesn't work on me. Let's not talk about other things first. What I'm curious about is why you betrayed Tyrannosaurus Rex. Su Wei looked at Ma Xiaoyu calmly and asked. It's not me who wants to betray Tyrannosaurus Rex, but they betrayed me. Humph, the establishment of Tyrannosaurus Rex is half my credit, and the other half is hard work, but just because I'm a woman, I can only be a tool forever. Why? Speaking of this, Ma Xiaoyu's face instantly became ferocious. Oh. It sounds very interesting, would you like to tell me about it? Su Wei resisted the urge to take out melon seeds, beer, and mineral water, and asked. Of course, then, Ma Xiaoyu told her own experience. Chapter 273 News. It turns out that Ma Xiaoyu was born in a family that favors boys over girls. Her father, Ma Long, is a truck driver, and her mother is a housewife. Since she was a child, she has watched her father constantly abuse her mother. Since then, she has been determined to be a completely independent woman, not at the mercy of any man and bullying. Therefore, Ma Xiaoyu's academic performance has always been among the best, and she is also an excellent student praised by everyone in school. However, all this does not exist in the eyes of her father. It is not even as good as her brother Ma Teng's passing score. In the end, her tuition fees were all scraped together by her mother. Once, just for her tuition, her mother couldn't borrow money, so she had to ask her father Ma Long for it, but she got a beating. Since then, Ma Xiaoyu had to drop out of school and stay at home, follow her mother to do housework, and wait to get married. But she was not reconciled to this, so she secretly ran out to do odd jobs, hoping to collect enough tuition fees and continue her studies. Because she knew that this was her only chance. Fortunately, her father did not object after knowing it, which gave Ma Xiaoyu hope. Her mother also secretly worked to earn money for her. In this way, working part-time and studying part-time, Ma Xiaoyu was admitted to university with excellent grades. Just when she thought she could let herself go. Unfortunately, the catastrophe came. On the way to escape, her mother was scratched by a zombie and was cruelly abandoned by her father. Originally, Ma Xiaoyu was also among those abandoned. But with her amazing perseverance, she caught up and was not left behind. Later, by chance, Ma Long awakened to Beast and his strength increased greatly. And Ma Xiaoyu also awakened the superpower Beast Speaker, which is to be able to communicate with mutant beasts and summon them for her own use. At this time, Ma Long treated his daughter differently. So, the father and daughter joined forces to create a Tyrannosaurus Rex base. And under Ma Xiaoyu's painstaking management, it continued to grow and developed into today's situation. As for his son Ma Teng, he was completely a vase piled up with a lot of resources. Ma Xiaoyu had no objection to this. She even had no objection to setting Ma Teng as the next successor of the Tyrannosaurus Rex. However, in order to consolidate his son's ruling position, Ma Long constantly reduced and undermined his daughter's rights. He even proposed that she marry the Scarlet Fortress. This was too much. Ma Xiaoyu could not accept being manipulated and abused like this. And this defeat would be the best reason to punish her. So, she had no choice now. Either she didn't return to the Tyrannosaurus Rex base, hid her identity, and went to other places to survive and develop. Or she went back to control the Tyrannosaurus Rex base and dominate it for herself. Ma Xiaoyu, who had been strong since childhood, would naturally only choose the latter, and would not choose the former to live. Then, Su Wei, the man who defeated her many times, naturally became her best choice. After listening to Ma Xiao's story, Su Wei couldn't help but be silent for a while. It is not ruled out that there is water in Ma Xiao's words, but some emotions can be heard. If you haven't experienced it personally, it is impossible to say it so emotionally. So, do you know now why I want to control the Tyrannosaurus Rex at all costs? Seeing Su Wei silent, Ma Xiao continued to ask. You said you don't want to be manipulated and controlled by men, but I am a man too, Su Wei replied coldly. Humph, who are you looking down on? I said, I like strong men. I hate those guys who are incompetent but full of male chauvinism. Besides, you have taken in a woman as strong as Zhang Ling. I think I won't refuse your manipulation and control. Ma Xiao stretched out her bright red tongue and licked the corner of her red mouth, full of charm. You should worry about your life and death first. I don't want an enemy to live too long. Su Wei stood up. The implication was naturally to reject Ma Xiao's proposal. Hey, wait, don't leave. You can propose any conditions, Ma Xiao shouted hurriedly, with a trace of panic in her eyes. This is different from what she predicted. Can't the eloquent speech move the man in front of her? Then is her judgment of his tenderness right or wrong? For a moment, Ma Xiao fell into a contradiction. Hey, wait, I have news to tell you. It's about the Phaeton base. Seeing that Su Wei was about to open the door and leave, Ma Xiao hurriedly took out the trump card from the bottom of the box. Oh, tell me about it. Su Wei stood by the door unmoved. If it was meaningless, he would leave without hesitation. Someone wants to attack the Phaeton base. Ma Xiao once again said something shocking. Although Su Wei didn't say anything, he turned around and looked at her, obviously waiting for the next words. The reason why I appeared in Shizuoka is because someone informed Wang Yongchuan that you will attack the Shizuoka base soon. Wang Yongchuan asked for help from Tyrannosaurus Rex overnight, so he sent me here. Last time Ma Teng was sent to attack the Phaeton, he was protected by Wu Shui, and this time I came here, I was given a turtle shell. Do you think it's treated differently? Ma Xiao took the opportunity to complain again. Who is it? Su Wei ignored Ma Xiao's complaints and asked. Black Fox. Ma Xiao didn't hesitate and said directly. Because she found that the man in front of her liked to be straightforward. The Black Fox of Demon Realm? Yes, it's her. Su Wei was shocked when he heard this. The woman who was shot by him was not dead. From this point of view, the other party came to seek revenge. Not good. The base is in danger. Thinking of this, Su Wei opened the door and rushed out. Dongzi, everyone gather. We have to rush back to the base immediately. As soon as he went out, Su Wei shouted to Su Xiaodong who was guarding the door. Yes, boss. Su Xiaodong didn't even hesitate. Whatever the boss said, we had to do. With that, Su Xiaodong ran downstairs like a fly. Su Wei, wait a minute. Just when Su Wei was about to leave, Ma Xiaoyu jumped to the door of the room and called him loudly. Su Wei stopped moving and turned to look at Ma Xiaoyu. To show my sincerity, I can help you summon wolves to increase the marching speed. Ma Xiaoyu quickly showed her goodwill. Su Wei stared at her for a long time, then suddenly reached out and pulled out an alloy dagger from the guard beside him, and stabbed it fiercely at Ma Xiaoyu. Ma Xiaoyu's pupils shrank, and she subconsciously wanted to dodge, but she stopped abruptly and faced Su Wei's blade calmly. Swish! Su Wei raised his knife and instantly cut the animal tendon rope that bound Ma Xiaoyu. With a swish, the alloy dagger returned to the guard's scabbard. The set of movements was smooth and without any delay. Follow me, Su Wei said, and turned to walk downstairs. Ma Xiaoyu raised the corners of her mouth, revealing an intriguing smile. Then, she followed Su Wei's footsteps. The two special forces standing at the door of the room also followed and rushed downstairs. Chapter 274 Fishing. Su Wei, hey, why did she come out? Zhang Ling and Yuna saw Su Wei coming and hurried to meet him, but they saw Ma Xiao who had regained her freedom. Zhang Ling immediately asked with hostility. Xiaoling, don't ask yet, I'll tell you in detail on the way later. Su Wei patted Zhang Ling's arm comfortingly, and then walked towards the small square. There, everyone had gathered. Although it was already late at night, in the firelight, everyone's face exuded a resolute glow, staring intently at the boss who was approaching. Wang Boing's systematic training made them always obey Su Wei's call and obey orders. Li Yanli, here, you take the special team 1, plus 50 super soldiers, to escort the prisoners, escort Thor and the Black Tortoise shield back to Phaeton, and set off immediately. Yes, boss. Li Yanlei ran to call for people without saying a word. Su Xiaodong, here, take your men to the Phaeton base as quickly as possible, investigate along the way, and report anything suspicious immediately. Yes, boss. Su Xiaodong also took his men away. Others, take your equipment and follow me. Yes, boss. The answer of the Phaeton army was like a torrent, echoing in the night sky for a long time. Soon, everyone began to act separately. Arriving in the wild, under the supervision of Sui, Ma Xiaoi quickly summoned more than 100 mutant wolves, which was her limit. And this mutant wolf pack den was discovered by her before, and the dozens of self-explosive wolves were summoned from here. Together with the dozens of surviving elite wolf cavalry, it barely made up 200. Fortunately, the mounts of the elite wolf cavalry have been domesticated and no longer need Ma Xiaoi's supernatural control. But here comes the problem. Sui led nearly 1,000 people. Although the mutant wolf is huge and can carry 2 people, it is still too small for 500 or 600 people. Sui had no choice but to select the elite to accompany him, and the rest were assigned to Li Yanlei's team to guard the prisoners. In order to ensure the safety of Thor, Feng Yunzi dismantled the core, and carried Dabe along with herself, following Sui and the others, moving at full speed. Talents like Feng Yunzi are definitely more valuable than 10 Thors. On the rugged road where even off-road vehicles can't drive fast, the mutant wolf can run as fast as walking on flat ground. Dabe carried Yuna, Feng Yunzi and the Thor caller. Xiaobei carried Ma Xiaoyu and Zhang Ling. Zhang Ling sat behind Ma Xiaoyu, responsible for monitoring. As long as she made the slightest move, Zhang Ling would definitely not show mercy. Sui rode Ma Xiaoyu's Mount Silver Shadow and ran in the front. The evening breeze passed by, leaving only a series of whistling sounds in his ears. But Sui still felt that it was not fast enough, and he wished he could go back to Phaeton immediately. At dawn, the Phaeton base could finally be seen through the telescope. There was no smoke, no fire, everything was as peaceful as when they left. Stop, Sui suddenly called a halt to the team. The mutant wolves stopped one after another. Although they were a little irritable, under the suppression of Ma Xiaoyu's superpowers and the intimidation of the head wolf Silver Shadow, these mutant wolves dared only blow their noses in dissatisfaction to vent their wild dissatisfaction. Brother, why did you stop suddenly? Yuna guided Dabe to Sui and asked with a puzzled look. There were only a few kilometers left, why did you stop suddenly? Zhang Ling and Ma Xiaoyu also cast puzzled glances. Don't worry, wait for me to ask about the situation. Sui smiled but did not answer. Seeing that the Phaeton base was safe, he was relieved of his worries. So, a new idea came to his mind. Soon, Su Xiaodong ran over. Boss, what's the matter? Su Xiaodong was also confused. He was ready to send a signal to open the base, but he was called back. Have you contacted the base? Sui asked. Not yet, but everything looks normal. The enemy should not have come yet, Su Xiaodong answered truthfully. That's good, notify them and hide here, we won't go back for the time being. Also, send someone to notify Lao Lei to hide his whereabouts. Approach quietly, don't shoot, Sui immediately ordered. Yes, boss. Su Xiaodong immediately went down to make arrangements. On the way here, Sui had told everyone that someone wanted to attack the Phaeton base. When everyone heard this, it was unacceptable, so they naturally rushed to the road desperately. In addition to the speed of the mutant wolf, it took nearly 10 hours to go there, but only more than 3 hours to come back. Brother, why is this? Yuna was confused and didn't understand what Sui was going to do. My silly sister. Your brother is going to do something bad, prepare to fish here. Ma Xiaoyu on the side understood Sui's intention in seconds. Fishing? Yuna still didn't understand. What fish to fish? Who is the fish? If someone wants to attack the Phaeton base, there will definitely be someone monitoring the base's every move. If they know that your boss has brought people back, will they jump out to attack? They will probably hide again and wait for the next opportunity. There is no reason to be on guard against thieves for 1,000 days. So, your boss is preparing to lure the fish to take the bait so that he can catch them all in one fell swoop. Ma Xiaoyu directly told Sui's thoughts. Wow, brother, you are so awesome. Yuna gave him an admiring look. Zhang Ling on the side couldn't help but look at Sui a few more times. Obviously, this idea was beyond her expectations. Su Wei couldn't help but look at Ma Xiaoyu a few more times, but he didn't say anything. Could this little girl be able to read minds? Well, I have to stay away from her in the future. Su Wei thought to himself. Oh no, I can't think about it, I can't think about it, shush shush shush. If Ma Xiaoyu knew what Su Wei was thinking at the moment, she would definitely regret it. The distance that was finally shortened was deliberately alienated by Su Wei. It seems that the boss's limelight cannot be easily snatched. Okay, hide quickly before it gets bright. If we are discovered, all our efforts will be wasted, Su Wei said as he looked at the bright light that had appeared in the sky. Yes, boss, Yuna saluted Su Wei in a funny way and answered in a rough voice. She looked so cute. Everyone couldn't help but smile. As they spoke, they began to look for a hiding place. Coincidentally, there was a ruin of a building not far away. I don't know what it was used for before. Now there are only a large piece of broken walls left. It just provided Su Wei and his team with an excellent hiding spot. Hundreds of people hide inside. If you don't get close to observe, you can't see them at all. After leaving a small number of people to keep watch, the others rested on the spot. The group of mutant wolves also lay in the ruins and fell asleep. They kept running for most of the night. The mutant wolf said that even beasts couldn't stand it. Cap. Chapter 275 Enemy Attack. In the early morning, the first ray of sunlight shone on the wasteland, exuding a hazy beauty. The ruins where Su Wei and others were hiding were quiet, without a single unusual sound. It was as if nothing had happened before. Beside a remnant wall on the third floor of the ruins, the half wall that had not collapsed blocked the sunlight and cast a large shadow. Su Wei lay in this shadow, wearing a camouflage cloth, motionless. He had been lying here for 2 or 3 hours, carefully observing the Phaeton base and its surroundings through a telescope. But he did not find anything unusual. Workers went to work, farmers went to the fields, and patrol teams also patrolled back and forth as planned. There were no scavengers near the Phaeton. One reason was that the surrounding resources were swept away by the Phaeton, and the other was that the wages offered by the Phaeton were much better than those of scavengers, and they were safe and secure, so most of the scavengers had joined in. Rustle. At this time, a slight friction sound came, and then a corner of the camouflage cloth was lifted, and a petite figure in combat uniform came in. She squeezed directly into Su Wei's arms, moved and found a comfortable position before stopping. Nana, why did you come up? Why don't you sleep a little longer? Smelling the familiar fragrance, Su Wei leaned close to her ear and asked. It's Suichi, I can't sleep, brother, you take a rest, I'll keep an eye on you. Yuna smiled quietly, and the numb feeling made her shrink her neck. No, I'm not sleepy, Su Wei shook his head and refused. The hidden enemy is like a thorn in the back, and it's not happy until it is eliminated. Even when sleeping, I feel uneasy. Brother, don't you really need to inform Sister Song and the others? Yuna asked with some concern. No, it would be unnatural if they knew, and it would be easy for the enemy to find out. Only by behaving normally like this can the enemy be drawn out. At the same time, you can also see if the emergency plan of the base is effective. Su Wei continued to observe and explained. Oh, Yuna didn't say anything after hearing this, lying quietly, enjoying the peace before the war. Time was passing by. But until the sun was high in the sky, there was no movement. In order not to alert the enemy, scouts could not be sent out. Su Wei could not help but feel anxious. But thinking carefully, his anxiety was suppressed. Under normal circumstances, it would take nearly a day for the Phaeton to reach Shizuoka, plus the battle and the return journey, it would take at least 3 days. Therefore, the enemy still had time to wait and see, and there was a chance to attack during these 3 days. It was time to test patience again. Rustling. Another subtle friction sound came, and the person stopped beside Su Wei and the others. Only a vague human outline could be seen with the naked eye. Boss, Lalei and the others are here. In order not to be exposed, they chose to rest in a forest 2 kilometers away from us. Su Xiaodong's voice sounded at the side. Yes, I got it. Notify them and be alert, Su Wei responded in a low voice. Li Yanlei and his team were too large, and with the eye-catching big guy like Thor, they naturally had to hide farther away. Yes, boss. After saying that, Su Xiaodong quietly left. The air around them became quiet again. Except for the occasional wind blowing, there was no sound. Soon, it was noon. The whistle for lunch break sounded in the Phaeton base, and the aroma of food began to float in the air. This was undoubtedly the happiest time for the survivors. Whether it was the construction site or the fields, it was full of people's laughter. Even the guards couldn't help but relax a little. Whoosh! An accident happened. A sharp arrow shot from nowhere instantly pierced the throat and took the life of an outer guard. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. More sharp arrows shot in, killing several guards who had no time to react. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, a burst of rapid gunfire rang out. It turned out that one of the clever guards, when he saw his first companion fall, did not check, but fell down and rolled behind the nearest bunker. That's how he survived. Seeing his companions falling down silently, he pulled the trigger without hesitation and fired a warning shot. Immediately afterwards, a shrill alarm sounded in the Phaeton base. Fuck. We were discovered so quickly. With a burst of curses, 7 or 8 burly men stood up in a bush a few hundred meters away. They were wearing animal skin armor, holding alloy crossbows, and wearing machetes on their waists, showing a barbaric spirit. It must be Lao Liu who missed the target, a big man teased. Fuck you. That guy hit too quickly, a big man cursed with a red face. That's because your hand speed is not fast enough. You played too much last night, another big man joined the ranks of condemnation. I'll fuck your sister. Okay, shut up. If you've delayed Lord Black Fox's business, I'll skin you alive and feed you to the mutant beasts. At this time, the leader interrupted the quarrel. Yes, big brother, the faces of the men suddenly changed. Whoa. Then, several people whistled. Of course, this was not for peeing, but to summon mounts. Soon, several mutant beasts that looked like Maine dogs jumped out from the grove not far away, but were much larger in size, with saddles installed on their backs for people to ride on. Kill. Several people jumped on the backs of the mutant Maine dogs, drew out the big knives from their waists, and rushed towards the Phaeton base with murderous intent. This scene is just a microcosm. From the moment the alarm sounded, the Phaeton base was attacked by different numbers of enemies all around. These people were dressed in strange clothes and had countless types of weapons. It gave people a feeling of a group of demons dancing wildly. Retreat. The survivors working outside the second ring wall rushed into the base like crazy. The guards on the periphery tried their best to prevent the enemy from approaching and buy time for retreat. However, the enemies basically had mounts or had acceleration skills, and soon came to the front. The close combat began to cause greater casualties. The close defense machine guns of the Phaeton base were not vegetarians either. They began to spurt out flames violently, and a chain of ammunition instantly tore apart an enemy riding a mutant wild boar. The survivors along this road were lucky enough to retreat into the second ring wall. But some roads were not so lucky. The close defense cannons were destroyed remotely before they could fire a few rounds. The opponent actually used ordinary boulders, and such power was really frightening. Without the support of close defense artillery fire, the guards had an extremely hard time fighting. The number of enemies was not large, but they had the ability to drive mutant beasts. The large number of mutant beasts made them busy. The enemy sneaked in among the mutant beasts and attacked, making it difficult to defend against. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.